Coming up on this episode of DL Weekly, Fantasmic has a return date. The Adventureland Treehouse brings more Society of Adventurers and Explorers.
Downtown Disney has a new stage, new Avengers, new pin trading rules. We finish our tour with Jocey and more. DL Weekly starts now.
Howdy, partners. For your safety, remain seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the podcast. And be sure to watch your ears. If any of you folks are wearing hats or glasses, best remove them, because Tag and Teresa have the wildest ride in the wilderness.
Hello and welcome to this episode of DL Weekly for the week of November 15th, 2023. I'm Teresa Urban.
And I'm Tag Bushman. We'd like to send a thank you to Jenna B. for becoming an official weekly tier on our Patreon. Our supporters get some pretty fun perks like DL Weekly swag, bonus content, access to our Discord community, and a holiday card that we'll be sending out. We actually just ordered them tonight.
We did.
To go out. A special thank you to Andrew K., Thomas F., and Thomas T. for your continued support. If you would like some more Disney magic in your day, head on over to DLWeekly.net/support to join the community.
Well, it's that time again for our friend Eric over at Concierge to catch us up on other Disney news.
Hello everyone, this is Eric Johnson with Concierge and welcome to the D180. While Teg and Teresa cover all things Disneyland, in the D180 we take a spin around the rest of the Disney universe and we do it in 180 seconds. Let's jump right in. We start our adventure this week in Walt Disney World where Epcot is gearing up for their next big nighttime spectacular, Luminous, the Symphony of Us. The new show opens next month on December 5th. Disney promises us a massive display of fireworks, fountains, lights, and music designed to showcase the connections between us all. Huh, that sounds a bit familiar. Anyway, the show's designers picked some pretty great songs out, and they recently shared that list with us. You'll Be in My Heart from Tarzan, Proud Corazon from Coco, So Close from Enchanted, and so many more cover a gamut of Disney films. They're also including 2 original songs, Heartbeat Symphony and Beating of Our Hearts, as end caps for the adventure. The change from harmonious to luminous is obvious. As the lack of giant set pieces allows us to look across the vastness of World Showcase unobstructed. I'm really looking forward to my next trip so I can check out the new show myself. Too bad that trip isn't until April. But hey, speaking of which, the Run Disney Springtime Surprise Weekend still has slots open for their Hakuna Matata 10-miler on April 21st. The 5K and 10K races sold out long ago, but there's still some room for us long haulers. There are also spots open for the post-race nighttime party at Typhoon Lagoon. Seems like a great way to cool off after a long race day. Oof, I gotta get back into shape. Only 6 months to go. But enough about spring. Let's talk about some holiday season business as all of the parks around the world are transitioning from spooky to sparkle. Walt Disney World just handed us their holiday foodie guide, and man, am I jealous of everybody who can make it this season. Our first look here is into Disney Springs. Amaret's Patisserie has so many new holiday cakes this year. Spice cake with apricot jam, vanilla chiffon with chai tea mousse, pistachio cream puffs, hot cocoa creme brulee with toasted marshmallow cream, and returning favorites. At Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar, you can sit out on the water amid myriad Indiana Jones props and memorabilia and sip on some new holiday-themed cocktails. There are also so many new savory and sweet dishes to enjoy that I swear it's a whole new menu. Definitely make time for this. It's one of my favorite spots in Disney Springs. Almost everybody at Disney Springs has new treats for the season. You're not even going to be able to try a small percentage on your trip, but it's fun to try. Well, I'm running out of time here, but you know there are new treats all around the parks and all of the resorts. I think on our next segment we'll have to spend some time overseas for a few rundowns. It's fun to learn about what's going on at all of the Disney parks around the world. We'll just have to wait a bit. And that's 180 seconds. I hope you enjoyed our quick spin around the rest of the Disney universe. If you would like to learn more about these Disney adventures or just have a few questions, please come on over. Visit the social media and websites of both DL Weekly and us, their official travel planners, concierges. We look forward to planning something special for you and yours. I'm Eric Johnson, and this has been your D180.
Thanks, Eric.
The holidays are quickly approaching, and like we said, we'll be sending out those postcards to all of our supporters at every level this year. If you're currently a supporter on Patreon, please log in and make sure that your address is up to date so you get your card. If you would like to get a postcard from us, you can also head on over to dlweekly.net/support and sign up.
Now let's get to the news.
Oh my goodness. I had to put this as our top story because we love it so much. Fantasmic has a return date. By the way, they announced this the day after our podcast, like what always happens. And we got thanked by our supporters in the chat for having a podcast because it made Disney announce this.
It's become a running inside joke with the Patreon and Discord community that all of the there's breaking news
Wednesdays
when
the show posts.
And it's they joke because sometimes it just so happens that it breaks right after the post, the podcast post is up.
Yes.
Uploaded.
Well, Fantasmic has that return date. One of our favorite park experiences will be delighting guests again on May 24th, 2024. No further details were released, but the fact that we have a return date is amazing.
It is amazing. One thing, though, to note is they have not officially announced what they're doing. Murphy, as you know, is going to no longer be part of the show since she had her final blaze.
She went out in a blaze of glory.
She did. She went out in a blaze. She had her final performance earlier this year. No talk yet. They have not officially said if they're going to get a new dragon or what they're going to do long term. So what has been said is that there will be a new ending sequence, just kind of for projection-y kind of sequence for the time being until they decide officially what they're going to do with the dragon. We've talked about this. I just really have a big Murphy-shaped hole in my heart, but I just cannot believe that they don't bring a dragon back. I just don't believe that.
I think they'll do something.
Has been the pinnacle of the show since its beginning.
Yeah.
But this show also was not intended to be around for the length of time it's been around. It was kind of more of a short-term show. So who knows? But I just can't imagine Fantasmic without a dragon.
So there was rumors that Murphy was millions and millions of dollars. Do you think that we could get enough Disney fans to donate
we'll start a GoFundMe
to the Restore Murphy Fund or something, and then give it to Disney and be like, buy a new one.
We need our dragon
Just
back.
pay Garner Holt and say, Garner, we'll give you the money, then you can donate the dragon to Disneyland, and it'll be wonderful.
Yeah, I just can't imagine it not being, because like you said, I have not watched this episode of Behind the Attraction yet, but they do talk about...
They feature Murphy heavily.
Yeah, they talk about her a lot. Now, if that was decided before the incident or after the incident, we don't know that part for sure, but it's very clear how important Murphy was and is. So I just can't imagine.
Yeah.
But at least for the short term, there is no dragon that will be... A dragon will not be returning with Fantasmic, but... On the plus side, Fantasmic is coming back.
Yeah.
Well, the long-awaited opening of the Adventureland Treehouse happened last week, and the results are amazing. There are a ton of new animation effects in the different areas of the treehouse, and the lighting is just gorgeous. Guest reaction to the re-themed attraction is positive, with long lines to go into the treehouse over the weekend.
I am so happy that there were lines for this, because it could easily have been one of those things that people just walk by and... for whatever reason, just don't go into or whatever. So I'm very happy. It did cause an interesting thing where the line from this and the line from Pirates of the Caribbean kind of made a little interesting area there for a while. But I'm so happy that it is getting some great attention, and the Imagineers did such a great job on it. Of course, if you haven't seen David from Fresh Bakes video, he was very happy to go and experience the thing, and he sat out there for quite a while pining about it and went and covered every square inch of that attraction in his video.
You know what, though? It's amazing. The layers and level of details in each of these rooms. The Imagineers, I can't wait to see it in person. The Imagineers look like they did such a great job. It to me feels like an attraction that you can either spend a great amount of time taking it all in while you're at each of the rooms, or it's very repeatable because you're going to notice different things each time you go through, because there's just so many different things going on. Very cool. I'm excited to see it.
speaking of all the little things and all the details, with the opening of the Adventureland Treehouse, more Society of Adventurers and Explorers items have appeared in Adventureland. Oh. At the Tropical Hideaway, there are a couple new paddles with the names of SEA members on them. One of the paddles is Aya Kwame Bosiel, who is the author of the note on the daughter's desk in the treehouse. So we're connecting all of those things together.
Interesting.
So these paddles are on the wall by the cash register in the Tropical Hideaway, and I never noticed them before. And they were there, and they've added additional ones because of the treehouse and the connections.
You know, I remember this one because of the alligator skull.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that looks familiar.
Yeah.
But, see, that's the other cool thing that they did with the treehouse. The treehouse has tied in to the other areas of Adventureland. It's not like its own little separate story. There's other details that kind of tie, like, what was it? David was pointing this out. There's like a rowboat, and in the rowboat there was a basket you'd put fish in, and there was a piranha sticking out of the top.
Oh, like from the Jungle Cruise.
Like the Jungle Cruise, yeah. And it looks like it's more open, and you can see into the queue of Indiana Jones now, whereas before you couldn't. So you can see into like the Indiana Jones area. Indiana Jones can look into the treehouse, and like timeline wise they actually match up.
That's cool.
So that makes sense that those two things could like exist at the same time, so that's why you can see. But anyways, the level of detail, it's one of those things that I'm sure a lot of casual Disney fans or people that are vacationing there might not notice the care and detail that went in, but us big park fans, we eat this stuff up. So this was definitely like the Imagineers, I don't know, it's almost like the Imagineers like gift or love letter to fans to really put this level in. And again, everybody's just geeking out that we have the treehouse not tied to an IP. We have an original story.
Yes.
And you know for sure that it's not the Swiss Family Robinson because in Mother's music room, there's a Swiss Family Robinson book. So it can't be the Swiss family that lives in the treehouse because they wouldn't have a book about themselves.
Right.
And that's like breaking some sort of code, I'm sure.
I know this is totally like off track, but this
That's
is something
fine.
I want to just mention to you. All of this stuff that's scattered about between the different rooms and the different areas, it dawned on me this week. I mean, it was part of the behind the attraction as well. They kind of talked a little bit about this, and I think there was an article online that I was reading about this, but we don't ever consider as guests, or few of us, I'm sure, consider that the things that they put out there have to be weatherproof.
Yeah.
And guest touching and doing stuff proof. And we've seen this with Toontown, where how quickly something can age in an area that is touched by thousands of people a day. Plus, a lot of these things with the treehouse, like those books and stuff, are in areas where if it rained, it's going to get wet, but it's not going to get damaged.
Yeah.
And I just find that fascinating that Imagineering is able to create these things and they look like a book sitting there, but they've obviously been treated in such a way that they won't fall apart when it rains. It's just, there's a whole artistry there that I just think that, and like a craftsmanship that I think that we take for granted because we're like, oh, it's just a book sitting there, but like, it's not just a book.
That's true. Well, it's kind of like, remember me being a total nerd in Galaxy's Edge when we first went? I'm like, this is all brand new, but they made it look old and worn and rusty. Like, it was just hurting my head knowing that this was not actually a weathered, forgotten area. No, they made it look that way. It's its own kind of magic.
I feel that way with Big Thunder Mountain and Indiana Jones too. The little safety gates that close look like old rusted things, but yeah, it's amazing. I don't even know what you would call that type of artistry other than just like Imagineering. Like, there's got to be like a
environment or it's amazing.
Can you imagine that being your job? Like, make this look old, but be new.
Yeah, that'd be so super cool. Well, the old downtown Disney stage has been taken down because the new stage is out from behind construction walls and ready for performances. The new stage has a rolling grass sitting area in front of it, surrounded by trees. And of course, this new stage is permanent, which I didn't know this, but the old stage was actually temporary.
Yeah. So,
which makes sense when you think of where it was sitting, because it was kind of sitting in the middle of a walkway.
Yeah, these things make me wonder when like the security tents will become permanent structures because some of these things they put up temporarily. But this area looks amazing. Again, I don't mean to keep promoting him, but David over at Fresh Bake did a construction update where he was there the day before it opened, and then he was there the first night it was there, and he's got some video of a band playing and people dancing and stuff. He said this grass is very soft.
Oh, nice.
And it looked like it was a wonderful area and so much more inviting and pleasant to be in to watch performers on the stage, because the old one you kind of were standing just on the concrete. There wasn't really anywhere to sit, but you could sit on this grass. You could dance.
I always felt a little awkward standing there because I felt like I was in the way if I was standing there, because again it was in the middle of a walkway. But this is such a stupid thing to get excited about. But I love the trash cans there. I love them. I would have I know Disney trash cans are amazing and works of art in and of themselves. There's something about these, though. I love them.
They're cute. They match the mid-century modern brick.
They're themed to the stage walls, which are different circles. Of course, they're shaped like Mickey's, but then some of them are filled in as solid colors, and there's blues and yellows and reds and green. It's just fun. And it's a nice silver trash can. I'm really excited. I feel like we don't have enough time for this next trip because there's so many. We got to do the treehouse. We definitely have to go check out this area. Eat all the food.
This area looks
holidays,
really
of
great.
Course. I'm really excited. I'm excited to see the rest of this area come together and see it all tie in.
Now, I know that when we talk to Mel McGowan, I don't want to just I love his work, and I really wish they'd find some way to keep it. But they're doing all of these redos of certain areas. David from Fresh Bake just talked about how Earl of Sandwich is going to be moving soon because they're going to tear that building down to build Porto's.
Yep, and they're going to have another temporary location.
Yeah, but Porto's is going to be huge because all of their locations are huge, so it's going to probably spill out more into that area, the walkway. But I hope that if they do go through downtown Disney and renovate more of the main walk areas, I kind of hope that they add some elements that they've done here. Some of the grass for people to sit on and stuff, a lot more shade. I think that would be wonderful in downtown Disney because I feel like sometimes there's a lot of concrete and there's a lot of people, so you don't want to, have too much stuff. But I just feel
the planters are nice though because they double as a nice focal point, and I love all the different things that they do. The horticulture team does during different holidays to spruce them up, but they also are shaped well. That they're lovely benches too.
Yeah, I just hope that they do something and they keep kind of trying new things because I really like this grass area. I think it looks beautiful. Well, over at the soon-to-be Pixar Place Hotel, the Great Maple Restaurant has an opening date. November 15th, the location will open for walk-in dining and guests. Reservations will be open starting November 21st. The menu is also ready online for guests to look at and plan their first visit.
This surprised me.
Okay.
I wasn't very excited about this place because for some reason, the Great Maple just makes me think it's like a breakfast brunch place primarily. I wasn't thinking that there was going to be things more on the savory end for lunch and dinner type dishes. But I was wrong. They kind of have everything there. I was really surprised with how large this menu is. For those of you like me that are not big breakfast people, there's plenty of options and different choices on here to try. There's sandwiches and burgers. There's mains, including pasta and steak and salmon and ribs. I just was blown away by how much stuff was on here. But one thing that I was really, really excited about that I know Tag's going to make fun of me was they have, I'm going to call it a cold brew flight. I don't think that's truly what it is, but they're called brew bears. They serve them in these little bear-shaped glasses.
Oh, is that what this picture was up here?
Yes.
Oh,
I don't know
cute.
if you can order them as a flight. I don't know how big they are. They do have them on their free spirits part of the menu as 3 separate drinks, but I feel like they should make it a little cold brew trio flight thing. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, you know what sounds interesting to me that I would totally try for breakfast? Well, it's on their brunch menu, is the Cajun Shrimp Biscuit Benedict.
There you go.
And they have pancake pops. Is that what this other thing was in the picture?
Oh, could be.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
I'm really intrigued about these bears.
By the way,
so cute.
Teresa,
and the coffees sound delicious.
I've taken us off the path earlier. I'm going to take us off the path one more time. It'll be very quick. This morning I tried Taco Bell breakfast. They have some new items on there. It was wonderful. We're talking about breakfast. Go check it out.
Okay, left field.
The bacon, egg, and cheese quesadilla.
I know,
Wonderful.
you told me about this
It's
during dinner.
wonderful.
Well, with the beginning of the holiday season, some more walls have come down in Toontown. Out from construction walls is the fountain in the center of the land, and it's working. The fountain opened with Toontown earlier this year, but there were some issues that caused it to have some extra TLC done to it.
I was so happy to see this up and working again, because the last time I remember seeing a picture, it seemed like they were still working on a lot of this.
Yeah.
And I saw, again, David from Fresh Baked in his construction thing, went back there and looked at it, and it looks great. And the area around it, they've done a really good job. They've done some of that brickwork we've talked about before. They've done just a bunch of stuff, and it looks amazing, and hopefully it addressed all of the things that were wrong with it before and things that people were a little frustrated with, that kind of thing. So
I'm still waiting for it to, because right when we were first told about this fountain, it was going to have a mini little nighttime show going on. I don't know if that's going to still be a thing, but I'm almost, part of me is trying to think, did we just interpret that wrong? Because it does have different colors and all that stuff, but it's not like a show. So I wonder if that just maybe was misinterpreted. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I'm glad that this got the TLC that it needed and deserved, and that it's there entertaining guests.
Well, as with anything that Disneyland celebrates, there is merchandise. Of course, the Festival of the Holidays is no different, and there are a lot of items with this year's logo on them. Items include spirit jerseys, a blanket, ornaments, pins, and more. I do have to say that the design for this year looks good.
Mm-hmm. I like it. It's clean.
What do you think about this fuzzy spirit jersey that looks like a blanket?
I'm kind of excited about is the blanket is made... the blanket's made, there's a blanket and there's a spirit jersey, and they're made out of the same fuzzy, cozy looking material, which I think is wonderful for folks like you, Tag, that are not spirit jersey people, but you can still have the fuzzy, soft blanket.
I hate to spoil it for you. I'm not going to pay $70 for a blanket.
No, I didn't think you would, but
it does look
option.
soft. Does look soft.
It looks so cozy and warm. I like the Magic Key hooded sweatshirt as well. I really like the design. The Festival of the Holiday design this year, for those of you that haven't seen it, it's a bunch of little different images, but they're arranged in a sphere with an ornament topper or hook on the top. So
it looks like an ornament, like a glass round ornament. Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
I like it too. I think they did a really nice job this year, because sometimes these logos for some of these events are not something that is my style.
Sure.
But this year I think they did good.
I feel like we've been saying this more frequently recently. They've been doing a really nice job with the logos the last couple of years, last few festivals. Well, a small addition that makes a big difference has finally been added to the newest land in Disney California Adventure. The Port of San Francisco sign that appeared in the earliest concept art for the area has arrived. And it's looking amazing.
It does look amazing.
It's finally officially done, wrapped up in a bow. They put their name on it. Signed, sealed, delivered.
I am very excited to see this when we're there lit up, because it did see it. I feel like it really wraps up the whole look.
Yeah.
In addition to, the bridge and all of that stuff. So I'm very excited to see this lit up. I haven't seen any pictures yet. I probably just need to look to find it at night. All right, well, not one, not two, but 3 new characters have arrived at Avengers Campus. Ooh. Carol Danvers, Kamala Khan, and Captain Monica Rambeau are making appearances in the land to celebrate the premiere of The Marvels, the newest Marvel movie that features the trio. They're going to be in the park for a limited time, so act soon if you want to catch them. Again,
synergy. Love it. The movie just came out. The new characters are there meeting and greeting. I love it. I know it's always for a limited time, which I'm okay with that, because I think that kind of makes the character interactions more special.
Is The Marvels something you're interested in seeing at all?
The Marvels?
Yeah, the movie.
I'll see it eventually. I don't know if I'm going to go see it in theaters or if I'll wait till Disney+.
Yeah, we went and saw it over the weekend, and it was pretty good. It was better than Ant-Man and the Wasp, which was, and whatever the last Ant-Man movie was. I thought it was good. I thought the characters worked well together. I thought it was funny. It felt, comedy-wise, it felt more Guardians of the Galaxy than it did like the normal kind of humor that the other Marvel movies have. So if you like Guardians of the Galaxy type humor kind of things, perfect movie for you. There was a whole sequence. We went and took our exchange student Maro from Spain there, and there's a sequence that I won't give away that he was like, they could have cut that whole thing out and the movie would have still been fine. And we're like, yeah, but it's to be funny.
Yeah. There you go. So Goofy's How to Play Yard has reopened, talking about the TLC that Toontown so desperately needs. And we reported on this because we could see it over the construction walls, that there's more power line references that they added to the area. But wait, there's more. There's even more references to a Goofy movie, which is one of my favorites. They have the perfect cast is there. Have you seen Goofy movie? A
long time ago.
So Goofy's trying to teach Max like how to like, this is the perfect cast. He's like, this big deal.
Oh yeah.
And so when he does it, he accidentally hooks Pete's steak off of his grill, and it's on the end of his fishing line. And so there's now a fishing pole with a steak hanging off the bottom. So to represent, right, the perfect cast. They also have new stuff that they added. Like there's new details like within the little tree house. There's new paintings and stuff outside of the tree house talking about like Bigfoot. You can hear him grumbling. We could hear him grumbling under the tree house. Remember that? But yeah, they added a lot of different, I don't know. Like it seems
details.
like there's more stuff and more details, but then there's also like interactive stuff. Like I don't remember this wall.
No, that's all
Have
new.
you seen Bigfoot with these like spinning shield things? And
yeah.
There's also, I don't remember this either. I feel like a crazy person. It doesn't seem like it's been that long that it was closed, but I don't like this garden stuff. Do you remember the garden?
Nope. No, I think they added a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, like, was this supposed to be there originally and it wasn't ready and they were going to eventually add it?
Yeah,
or
maybe.
Is this something that they decided maybe we need to add some more and they did? I don't know.
I'll add the link in the show notes since that wasn't an official story, but I just got
I was going to say, you
excited
definitely went off the script there.
Yes, I did. Well, some updates to one of Disneyland's policies might make some park goers happy while others not so much. Pin trading rules have been updated to restrict professional traders from taking up the sitting spaces in Frontierland. Traders are now limited to to table space only and are able to bring one case of pins to trade at a time.
This is funny. So I don't know if you know this, Teresa, and I don't know if listeners know this either, but for some reason, there's a couple places online that the Disney community hangs out, and Reddit's one of those, and I can't remember the other place I've seen it, but there are people in these communities that despise the pin traders in Frontierland. I don't despise them. I do see why people can be frustrated with them taking up all the space. Mm-hmm. I'm sure, I haven't looked, but I am sure they are gleeful at this news. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised it took Disney this long to kind of come up with some type of solution to kind of, because it is kind of weird, right? That like Disney allows, traders that have like an entire storefront's worth of pins to trade, basically. Mm-hmm. And I always thought that was kind of weird because I feel like the spirit of pin trading is that like it's kind of one-on-one and like you find somebody, you've done it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a conversation starter and
But like, I don't know, it seems almost like a whole other store's worth of stuff sitting out on a bench.
Yeah.
It just seems interesting. That's all.
It's one of those things that I never know, like I feel like I didn't really notice them, and then like I'm going like back to my original first Disney trip.
Sure.
Like I'm thinking just in general. I don't know when this started happening. Maybe this has always happened, but to me it feels like in more recent years it's become more of a problem. Like before maybe you'd have like people sitting on the bench with a couple of books, but now you've got one person that will have multiple benches pushed together and they have books along the entire bottom of the bench as well as books along the entire of propped up against the back of the bench. So it's just kind of a growing thing, you can say, issue, whatever you want to call it. So I totally think Disney, I was actually surprised that Disney kind of stepped in and pulled in the reins a little bit there and tried to take control of the situation, because it was getting a little out of hand. Like, I had seen stuff online where people were tripping over like stacks of the books of pins that traders had setting on the ground, and those things are heavy.
Oh yeah.
It was causing some issues and causing some grumbles. Was it really that many benches in the grant? No, it wasn't really that many benches, but still it was kind of just like taking over a very busy area anyways. I think there's a lot of great places that you could still have this style of pin trading going on. One of the areas that I'm thinking about is the picnic area right outside of Disneyland that's got those giant lockers there.
Oh, sure.
It's kind of quiet. It's out of the main guest flow area. That'd be perfect, because then you wouldn't have to, I just can't imagine carrying all those pins to and from my car and to and from the front gates. And anyways, so
and having to get a reservation and all of that stuff.
Yeah. So I just think that I think the solution that they came up with was good, because I don't know if you had seen this, but that pin trading style, we'll call it, started to creep its way over into DCA as well. And
where was that?
Like under the bridge that the monorail goes under, those benches there were a couple different places I saw photos of. So it was kind of growing. So I think it was good timing on Disney's part to kind of go like, oh, okay, this is, we don't want to discourage this. However, we're going to just set some rules, set some guidelines as to how this is going to go. The tables, I think, are the perfect solution.
Yeah.
And really one trading book per person, I think, is fair as well.
You know what would be interesting, you mentioned this now, is since people don't buy tickets as much anymore, they could replace one or two of the ticket booths out front of the park with like almost like the DVC area where it was literally just like a covered table.
Yeah.
And they could allow people to sign up to do stuff there if they wanted to. Because the only thing I'm thinking from a pin trader person standpoint is if you put them in the picnic area, a lot of people won't see that they're there and won't know to go trade with them.
Sure.
So if you put them there, if there's room,
Kind of more out in the open.
those booths are closed most of the time, most of them are, that you can put them there and then they don't have to have a reservation and all of that stuff. And then they can have like a legit space that they could put multiple books out and trade and stuff like that. So
I was just thinking that area because there's those lockers back in that picnic area.
Sure.
So it'd be nice to be able to store stuff,
Yeah.
Anyways, the one last thing that I wanted to cover where there's two, this just came out right as we were starting to record, is that there are two changes coming to DCA specifically. The Blue Sky Cellar, which I think has been closed
for a while.
Since the shutdown, at least, maybe before then. The last time I walked through the Blue Sky Cellar in DCA, it was still promoting Pixar Pier. Mm-hmm. And this was after Pixar Pier had already been open for a while. So they really haven't updated what was in the Blue Sky Cellar for a while. I loved the concept of the Blue Sky Cellar because what it was supposed to do was it was supposed to be like Imagineering's, like a peek into Imagineering, I guess would be a good way of saying it. So
future projects and stuff.
Future projects and stuff. So I thought it was really cool. So I was really sad that it kind of didn't become a priority anymore. Well, now it sounds like the Blue Sky Cellar is actually going to become a spot for DVC, which really they have that one space over by Grizzly River Run. So I'm wondering if maybe that little kiosk is going to change into something else, and then they'll just move their home over there. Mm-hmm. The next thing that's changing, I'll let Ted go ahead and talk about,
is Beast's Library that's inside the Animation Academy is going to close next month to become the new Disney Imagination Campus location. And I'm kind of sad about this because this is one of the places, now to be honest, I haven't been in there in a few visits for sure, but I remember the first time I went in here, this was so cool.
I thought it had been closed for
But it like this
trips.
room like transitions from like daytime to nighttime and the rose things fall and all these projection things happen.
Yes.
It was super cool. So the Disney Imagination Campus, which was formerly the Disney Youth Programs that has programs for students and educators, will start operations in the building on December 15th after the Beast Library closes December 10th. So this is one of those things that, they got to find places. Now, you were saying, where was this located before?
So this had been located in the Innovations building, most recently known as Star Wars Launch Bay. As you know, the DVC Lounge is on the second floor, but the first floor was being used for the Imagination Campus. So I'm going to choose to be positive about this. Although the Beast Library was super cool. I'm going to choose to be positive about this because they are intentionally moving this out of Tomorrowland. So that's going to give me hope that they're looking more serious. I think they've been looking at Tomorrowland for quite a while, but I feel like since they're shifting things around, perhaps they're looking a little more seriously, or maybe there's a timeline that they're trying to work with. Something like that. I'm going to call this as a win for Tomorrowland. Good news for Tomorrowland.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
Your attention, please. DL Weekly Trivia is now leaving for a Grand Circle tour of the Magic Kingdom, with stops at New Orleans Square, Mickey's Toontown, and Tomorrowland. All weekly tiers for...
Welcome to Trivia Land. How we feeling tonight? Do you have some wonderful knowledge in your brains? You ready for some real humdingers of questions?
I mean, we'll find out. You never know. You never know with Trivia Land.
Okay. Well, as I'm sure everybody is aware, we here in the United States have recently celebrated the end of daylight savings time.
Daylight saving time, sir?
Saving. Sorry, my apologies.
I used to work with a meteorologist, and they were very particular about that.
Yes. So, and I don't know about you, but personally, I'm still kind of adjusting to the fact that the sun is down at that hour earlier and it's dark all the time. And I thought this would be a great time for us to talk about the clocks of Disneyland.
Oh.
Ooh.
So let's find out what you know about some Disneyland clocks. Your first regular round question from me, wanting to know about Disney clocks. And all of these questions will be from me wanting to know about Disney clocks. Do you know the name of the clock in Small World?
The name?
Isn't it just the Small World
It's
clock?
adorable.
What?
It's adorable.
Is that the name?
No, but it's adorable.
Yes, it is adorable.
Because there's like the face that like goes tick-tock, but that's not the clock
And that
itself.
face goes by a
that
name.
face's name. I'm going to call him tick-tock.
Happy. Because why not? Yeah, I'm not feeling good about this, Vern.
All right, so Happy and TikTok.
Now,
No
I have a
answers?
question. In Trivia Land, is there a clock?
Besides the clock in the corner of the screen of my laptop?
Well, I just meant just a clock.
Or just generically in Trivia Land?
In
do I
Trivia Land, is
envision
there a clock
being
in the
clock?
land of trivia?
See, I do always, when I picture a Trivia Land in my head, I do see a clock, yes.
Oh, okay.
It's very
I
Big
picture like
Ben-esque in its visage.
the sand timers from games.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, that's a good way to
I always
visage it, too,
imagine, I don't imagine a clock per se, but I imagine, and it's probably because I come up with an answer quick and
I take my time.
you take your time that I always think of, the Jeopardy sound.
Yeah.
Do, do,
sure.
do. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
All right. So that was your final answers with Happy and TikTok, right?
Yep.
Okay, and to
We
be
both
clear,
have
we're all
other
thinking
Disney
of the clock with the happy face, and he goes back and forth,
Yeah.
and the little dancing
Yep.
figures come out from underneath him.
Doesn't his face look like a boat?
It kind of does, yeah.
Oh, sure.
Anyway.
All right. Your second regular round question.
That's Bodie McBoatface. Sorry. My
That's all
brain.
right.
I'm shaking my head. You can't see me, but it's shaking.
Oh, we can hear your judgment.
Your second regular round question. Installed in 1996, where can you see the chandelier clock?
1996.
My goodness gracious. A chandelier clock.
Chandelier clock. In what year?
1996, this was installed.
Chandelier clock. So it's in Disneyland because California Adventure didn't exist.
I'm
I'm trying to
trying
think of
to.
places that have chandeliers.
That's what I'm trying to think too.
And what happened around 1996? We already had Indy.
I have no idea. The only thing that
Is it still there?
As far as I can tell.
Okay.
the only places that come to mind that might have chandeliers. Because I don't think the castle.
I think of the Haunted Mansion.
Oh yeah, there
'Cause
is.
it has a
There is
chandelier.
a chandelier in the Haunted Mansion, but I was thinking Plaza Inn or Riverbell Terrace.
Maybe Golden Horseshoe?
Maybe. I don't know. That's like a saloon. I don't think they have chandeliers.
Yeah, but it's a nice.
Yeah, maybe. I'm going to go with River Bell. I really have no idea.
I'm going to go with Golden Horseshoe, the Golden Horseshoe, because I feel like, I don't know, it's probably not going to be any of those, but maybe we're getting too fancy. Maybe we're thinking like fancy chandelier, and it's really kind of a more rustic chandelier.
That could be. I know there's.
Or maybe you're not fancy enough.
No. Don't read into that.
Club 33? I'm trying to think like the fanciest place.
I mean, it could be Club 33.
It could be. I was just going to say there's weasels swinging from chandeliers. Is that in Toad?
Yeah.
Or is that Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin?
I don't
No,
know.
I think it's like I don't remember. There's
We've got down a
swinging on chandeliers
rabbit hole
somewhere.
now. Chandelier hole. I'm going to stick with Golden Horseshoe. You're sticking with Riverbell Terrace?
Okay, so Golden Horseshoe and Riverbell Terrace. Final answers.
Yeah, but we don't feel good about it.
Okay, and I just double-checked my notes, and the most recent reference to this particular clock that I was able to find was September 12th of 2023.
Oh, okay.
So as to the best of my knowledge, this is
we
a
should have
current
noticed this clock, is what he's saying.
We probably have, and when he tells us, we're going to slap ourselves.
And we're going to be like, oh, chandelier? Yeah, I suppose.
Okay.
And you're certainly going to hate yourselves for the hint that I gave you.
Wait, go back,
anyway,
go back.
Your third regular round question. In Toontown, there was a clock on City Hall that had gloved hands wielding wooden hammers to ring the clock tower bell with a Mickey on the clock face. What is on City Hall's tower now?
Oh, gosh. Is there still a clock on City Hall's tower? You know the answer to this?
I do.
No, that's why you're sitting there with that grin.
So I've got a grin.
Okay, so what is it so I can hitch my cart
It's
to your...
Mickey and Minnie. It's a photo of Mickey and Minnie holding hands.
Is it?
That's
Sure, I'm going to hitch my wagon to your... I'm going to hitch my second hand to your minute hand.
Perhaps they're on their way to a perfect picnic.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so Mickey and Minnie holding hands. Is that your final answer?
Yes.
All righty. And your fourth and final regular round question, and yes, there will be a bonus.
Well, we need one.
In Shanghai Disney Store's entry plaza, there is a glockenspiel-type clock tower measuring 60 feet tall and featuring Mickey faces, visible gears and mechanisms, and a variety of popular Disney, Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars characters as both statues and animated figures.
Okay, this sounds cool.
What year was this clock tower unveiled?
Oh, boy.
It was probably before it opened in 2016, so I'll say... You said year?
Yes, sir.
2015. Because the whole resort opened in 2016.
Where is this located?
Shanghai.
The Disney store you said? Like at a store?
Disney Store's entry plaza.
I mean...
You're saying 2015?
I'm going to say 2015, but it might even be newer. I don't know.
I'm going to say 16. Just because I have no idea. Yep.
All right. 2015 and 2016. Final answers.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're so confident.
And your bonus question tonight. What is special about the clocks in the Haunted Mansion?
Oh,
They have 13.
They have
Anything
13
else?
hours.
Don't they go backwards? Isn't the hand going like backwards?
They're at least possessed because they kind of
It's
just
like
move.
it's
on
like
their own.
it's our hand. It looks like a devil's tail.
That's the
Or is that the second hand?
no,
That's the pendulum.
The pendulum thing is like a devil's tail. That's just one. You said clocks plural.
Yes.
What other clocks are there in the Haunted Mansion? I only remember the one in the hallway.
Betcha there's ones like maybe in the attic, or
the
maybe there's one in the
ballroom.
ballroom that you can't quite see.
Vern, do you know how many clocks there are in the Haunted Mansion?
I wasn't able to count.
I'm just going to say that they all have 13 hours.
Yeah, 13 hours.
Okay. 13 hours. The final answer.
Yeah,
All right.
reluctantly.
Well, listeners, how do you think they did? Do you think they have the greatest knowledge of clocks?
No.
Do you listening at home have some great clock knowledge in this wonderful end of daylight saving? If you stick around until after the discussion topic, we can all find out together.
Well, this week we are going to continue our wonderful whirlwind trip around the world report with Jocey. After after Tokyo, where was the adventure leading to you next?
Again, early in the morning, luggage out. We went from there to Shanghai, and Shanghai was amazing. Coming into China is different. I don't know how else to put it. The airport, because of the Olympics, is off the charts amazing until you get to the checkpoints where you have to go through and have your passport and all of this nonsense you have to do. Well, it's not nonsense, but it's just the way they approach it is very rigid compared to what we're accustomed to, especially since you don't speak the language and neither do they.
Yeah.
So we're waiting for direction from somebody as to what and how. And then once you get through that, and it's very, I don't want to say industrial, but it's kind of that kind of a machine-like feel to it. It's all these rows of people behind plexiglass checking things, and there's lots of people, and there's lots of snake queues. The snake that Disney created for the world. It's a little intimidating, but no big deal. Once you got onto the other side, then we went over to a place, waited till we all pretty much collected, and then we had pre-designated our activity for the morning or the day, afternoon. So based on that was the person you were going to collect with, that tour person. So we did a tour of the city. I stayed on the bus for part of it because it was too much walking for me. Sure. And the architecture in Shanghai, in the business district and some of these old hotels is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So they did some of that and I couldn't do all of it. Then we met up at Din Tai Fung, which is a Chinese restaurant we have here. I don't know if you guys have been there.
Not yet, but it's coming to downtown Disney.
Yep.
It started with, I believe, in Taiwan, and it's a Michelin star restaurant, the original. And so then it has since branched out. And because we have a very large Asian population in Southern California, there were 2 in my town for a little while.
Oh, wow.
And now there's one in Orange County, only one in my area now. And there's several of them. But I worked I'm a member of the Pasadena Tournament of Roses Association. And so one of my jobs involved interacting with a chef at one point, and he teaches chefs. Oh. And so I asked him what his favorite Chinese restaurant was. And he said, not Tai Fung. And I said, why not? They use too much cornstarch. Okay, I can see that. So he gave me the name of another restaurant, which is fine. But it's interesting, if you go to Din Tai Fung, at least in China or Taiwan, they are paid by the piece. So when they're making the soup dumplings, they are doing it very fast. Yeah. Because they are paid by the piece. I don't know if that holds true here. So they just to sit there, it's mesmerizing to watch them doing this, because the soup is a frozen pellet basically, and it goes in the dumpling thing along with the stuffing stuff, and it's a constant movement, and you just it's a choreography that's second to none. I could never ever expect to be able to do that. The food, again, it just kept coming and coming and coming, and then from there we went to see some Chinese acrobatic show that was off the charts, and we're all full. And it's been a long day. And now we're at this show. So people are kind of wanting to fall asleep, but you couldn't, because the show is just amazing. They had flying whales. They had dancing jellyfish coming out of the ceiling. They had dancers, band dancers, all different kinds of, they had water involved with the show. It was off the charts. I use that expression too much, but this trip is off the charts. It was just phenomenal.
This whole thing just sounds like the trip of a lifetime.
Yeah.
It really is. I'm hoping that all of the elements that we had, obviously not Skywalker, but the different elements that were incorporated in our trip continue to be, because they really are, from a cultural standpoint, from a food standpoint, from just a drop your jaw awe standpoint, so many things are just not things you would think of to do or have necessarily access to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I learned
Incredible.
very quickly that I learned years ago from a chef that foreign chefs, when they come to this country, learn very quickly that the American palate is trained on sugar and salt.
Yep.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
When you go to the countries of origin, you're tasting the seasonings of the origin of the region. You're not tasting sugar and salt. They don't use them. You're hard pressed to find sugar in a lot of these countries, and let alone the kitchens. They use red bean for a dessert. They'll make cakes with sugar, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm not a foodie, but on this trip, I became obsessed with, if I'm in a foreign country, I don't want to eat. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time and the effort you put in and the money, but I want the regional stuff. I want the local food. I don't want to eat your version of mac and cheese or your version. And yes, there was somebody who ate mac and cheese a lot. I don't want your version of a hamburger or spaghetti.
Right.
I want what you eat.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't get sushi until we were on the plane leaving Tokyo. And it was
too bad.
It was really good.
Well, that's good.
So whatever that kitchen was, I want to go there.
Yeah.
But you really get the way this trip was set up between National Geographic and Adventures by Disney. You get a real good taste of the cultural as well as just the Disney. National Geographic people have no clue, and Disney is not on their radar. Mm-hmm. And most of them have maybe been to a park, but it's not a lifestyle choice like it is for some of us.
Sure.
We got some of that in the stories from like Marcy in Marceline that was talking about how she was making that book with them, and they're like, they just didn't understand.
Exactly.
Pins was one of the things.
That became a bone of contention at the beginning.
I'm really interested to hear about Shanghai Disneyland, because I don't know like almost anything. I know it has a really cool Pirates of the Caribbean. I know that it has a massive castle, which, depending on your architectural opinions, you may or may not like. But like, what was the experience like once you got to that part?
Hotel?
Oh yeah.
Because the Shanghai Disneyland Hotel, we were in the concierge level.
Ooh.
And these rooms were amazing. And when you entered the room, wait for it, dessert!
Oh, no, not more dessert.
There was a platter with chocolate creations. I mean, not just chocolates. This is creations. Wow. And the plate had like a plate of chocolate, and you could break that off. And it was attached to the plate with something underneath it. And it was a circle. And then they had Disney characters with chocolate and other stuff around this circle. And there were other things. It was crazy. I don't know what you're going to want pictures of, but there's a lot of things that there could be pictures of. You could end up with a whole novel just from them.
I'm just looking, as you talk about things, like, I'm just like, I do this all the time. I frantically type into Google, and I think I'm looking at what the lobby of this hotel looks like, and it is
very grand,
gorgeous and grand.
Yes. The woodwork, the windows, the atriums, the wallpaper, the carpeting, the views are kind of weird, but the hotel itself is phenomenal. And the concierge level, we had dim sum for breakfast before we even got to breakfast.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they had a full-on kitchen staff in the concierge lounge with full-on dim sum. But was like, why would I go to breakfast? I can have this. But we had to go to breakfast, so we did that. Then we went to breakfast because in one of the mornings, is there only one morning in the park? I don't remember now. Like I said, the Asia park's kind of
I think Shanghai looks like it was like one day there for you.
Yeah, one morning. So the breakfast was a special breakfast that was put together in the castle for us. And we were met by, we had a castle photo, obviously. And yes, that castle was something else. But the woman who was head of food and beverage for the park met us. She's American. So I had a conversation with her because I was curious about the chefs who were cooking the American food in the buffet and versus the chefs who were preparing the indigenous culinary delight. And she's like, they cross-train. They rotate around the different parts around the world and cross-train, which was very interesting. So the Asian population of chefs for the parks can learn how to do American, and the American chefs can learn how to do the Asian flavors without sugar and salt. So one of the special things in this buffet was a gentleman who was doing spun sugar characters on a stick.
Oh, wow.
So you could go pick up your lollipop, which wasn't a pop, but it was a character. So I tried hard not to break it, but it didn't work. So I had to eat it. But he was just doing on a piece of wax paper like thing or a silk hat. He was drizzling the sugar into a Goofy or into a Mickey or into a Donald and putting it on a stick and then handing it to you.
That's amazing.
Wow.
That's
and this
next
is breakfast,
level.
and this is after we've had the dim sum. That we're having the buffet and this thing, with the it's just like, oh my goodness. The creativity, the details are indescribable. There's the most gorgeous pottery and ceramics to enhance the ambiance in this castle setting. It was amazing. And then there were times when whenever we got to any of the parks, aside from there being more stuff in our rooms, there was always some form of money. So we had at the Grand Californian, we had $100 gift card. So we'd had 50 for meals and incidentals in California and 50 for Florida.
Oh, sure.
When we got to Tokyo, they gave us an envelope, a red envelope, of course.
Yeah.
That's the way they do it, with yen. We get to Shanghai, it had the Chinese yuan. So everywhere we went, we were able to, if we wanted to go get something to eat, or if we had lunch or whatever on our own, we had a way of paying for it.
Oh, that's a really thoughtful extra thing that they did, because otherwise,
that was
when
huge.
would you have been able to do, get the correct
because you can't always use a credit card.
Right.
And I'm not sure I'd be comfortable using a credit card in China.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, and it gets shut off and you're done for the trip,
Well, there is that possibility, but, the credit cards don't seem to ask anymore, but they do text you.
So what were some of the highlights of the park itself? Some of the attractions
we had a presentation by Imagineers. We were set into groups and off and around, and we went on Pirates a couple of times.
That good, huh?
It's immersive, physically immersive. There's no other way to describe it, and it's wonderful. They did a fabulous job. On one hand, you felt like it was too short, and on the other hand, it was like you just want to stop and stay and try and absorb all of the things that are going on around you.
Yeah.
You want to take pictures, but you don't know where to take pictures because you're surrounded by it. It's just immersive and wonderful. They had other kinds of other things going on. And of course, in Shanghai, we have the original, wait for it, Tron.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
How was that?
That was amazing. Their Tron is better than the Florida Tron. Having done it literally back to back, I can say Tron in Shanghai is better than Tron in Florida.
They're not identical, huh?
No, they are not.
Oh.
The one in Florida is, people think it is, and it is, or feels anyway, slightly shorter, and it jerks a little bit more. I have a spine injury. So because you're in a motorcycle kind of down position, I figured, okay, I can do this because that's a healthy position for my back. Justification. So did it in Shanghai and had no problems. did it in Florida, and I thought I was going to die
Oh
because it
no.
jerked a couple of
Yeah.
places where it did not. It was very fluid in Shanghai. If Shanghai weren't in China, I would be there every day.
Wow.
It's just China. I have a hard time with them. It's difficult. We had an easy time because we had this advanced team basically
Yeah.
seamlessly making our transition for us to get there and leave.
Mhm.
The visa was taken care of. We didn't have to deal with that. It was
That's
all
nice.
dealt with. And I can't imagine doing a lot of that on my own.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, I've never had to do it personally, but the people that I know that have done it, I'm just like, that just seems, I mean, you've got to do it in the right time frames and all, all this stuff.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
yeah, it's not impossible and it's not
Mm-mm.
horribly
No.
difficult, but when you're on a limited time frame, which when you travel, you
Mhm.
don't want to waste a lot of time having to figure out how to get through
Yep.
customs or TSA or whatever.
Mhm. Yep.
Um, and
Whatever
when
they
you
may
don't
need.
speak the language, it's very difficult to know what they're asking for if it's
Yep.
not something you've already figured out.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It can be a challenge for sure.
Yeah. And the lines. Now, keep in mind, we had dim sum before breakfast. We had breakfast. Lunch, I believe, was on our own, and none of us wanted it, so we didn't. And then we had dinner at Club 33.
You got not only did you get tours of parks around the world, you're getting to go to Club 33s around the world too. That's
Not in California, not in Florida.
no.
I like how the Adventures by Disney website calls it dinner in an exclusive location at
Yeah.
Shanghai
Yes.
They're
Disneyland.
not making any promises just in case.
Well, that's also part of it. But yeah, nobody was supposed to know that the Club 33 was built into Shanghai, but a certain
Mhm.
person's wife mentioned it, and so it got out there. So,
Too
so
funny.
much for that. And it's a very hard place to find. It's not once you know in Disneyland, it's very obvious.
Yeah.
But in Shanghai, it's not even obvious if you know. It's hidden
Mm.
and out of the way. But it has this amazing vantage point, this big balcony area, patio. And we watched the fireworks around the castle from there.
Oh
It was
wow.
amazing, absolutely stunning. And you watch as the lights around the park come on and then the things dimmed for the fireworks and then those
Mhm.
lights come back on and it's not a huge park, but it's big enough. It's I would like I said, I would be there every day if I lived near there. So the food, we were allowed to buy stuff at their Club 33. So we did. Guess what? Shipping again. The food was amazing. Now, I don't know how familiar you are with what I'm about to say. We had 3 courses, then it was time to go watch the fireworks. We came back to the table and they served tomahawk steaks.
I
We
don't know
did
what
not,
that is.
you don't?
No.
It is a very, 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 very expensive cut of meat.
Mm, okay.
It's called a tomahawk because it comes with the bone and the meat on the end,
Mhm.
so it looks like a tomahawk.
Okay.
But if you were to go to a restaurant and order a tomahawk, it's usually for 2 people, and it's usually 250 on up.
Whew.
Okay, that's a tomahawk.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yep. I'm looking at photos now. This is
Okay,
massive. Okay.
we were full. We couldn't eat it,
Oh no.
so we graciously put some on our plate, ate a couple bites, and threw in the towel. And then came
Mm.
dessert. And then after dessert came the dessert cart.
Oh,
And we're like, I'm out of here. I don't even want to know
dessert with
anymore.
second desserts. Yeah.
Well, it was like an ice cream sundae cart and with
Oh my
other stuff
goodness.
on it too. And it was like, okay, the
Wow.
presentation in that club was amazing. The ambiance in that club was amazing. The graciousness of those working in that club couldn't have been better. We just couldn't eat.
Yeah. Wow. So the idea here is whenever they feed you, you should just do small portions of what they're going to feed you because they're going to feed you again later.
And maybe you'll be able to have a bite of everything.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
maybe.
But it's hard not to eat all of it because
Yeah.
you're eating things that are regional that you're not going to be able to
Yeah.
get any other time. It tastes too good. Take one bite and say thank you. Next,
Wow.
because you don't know that you're going to have 7 courses. There's no menu.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
just food coming and coming. And it was all fabulous. You wish you had, like, what is it, a camel that has 2 stomachs, or is it an
Yeah.
elephant? Something like that has 2 stomachs. It's like I want an auxiliary tank so I can put some more food in. Not that I need it. I gained weight on this trip. That's not supposed to happen. It's an adventure. You're supposed to burn calories, not eat to
Yeah.
death.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I can't say enough about Shanghai. It was wonderful. Absolutely. Their storybook land kind of ride was even better. It's different. It was very different, but it was still just wonderful. I took pictures because just the creativity and the execution was wonderful. And why don't we have some of this stuff?
Right. All right. Hong Kong.
Okay, pack everything up. It has to go out the night before, except for the little bag that we could keep. So the next morning, they collect our little bags and we eat and we get on the buses and go. Okay, we went to Hong Kong and we had, again, activities. And then at the late afternoon, we got on a junk. We had a junk boat ride for sunset with cocktails.
Wow.
And then from there, we went to a restaurant that was in a skyscraper so that we could have a vantage point of the Hong Kong harbor with all of the different buildings lighting up and then lit.
They are famous for that. Yep.
It was incredible. But a lot of us were kind of disappointed that we didn't really get to have much time in Hong Kong. The financial district. Why can't we be on the other side of the bay and see some of that and get kind of, but that's okay. We still did a lot and had a lot going on. So it was, again, primarily by bus, seeing a lot of the different architectural styles throughout the area, but stayed on the buses until we had to go to the dock for the boat ride.
I also find this interesting. The fly to Hong Kong, there's a note on this I don't know if it was on yours as well, but please note, this flight may be a separate charter. Okay.
Oh.
What?
Yeah, so on day 12, where you go to Hong Kong, you do breakfast at Lumiere's, and then it says you fly to Hong Kong with an in-flight lunch. Please note, this flight may be a separate charter.
That's weird. No, we were entirely on our plane.
Yeah, interesting.
I wonder, does it say the next flight is back to China with the original plane? Because how do you get back to the original plane?
Great question.
And with your stuff
board the private jet is when you leave to go to Agra.
That's weird because when we fly from Hong Kong to Agra, you stop in another place to actually clear customs, and then we fly to Agra.
Yeah, it said that you just join you for Agra. It just says you board the private jet and take off.
No.
Take us off of that.
That's totally different than what we had, because when we left Hong Kong, we flew, like I said, to this other major city where they cleared customs for us. We never got off the plane. They sent somebody to the plane and they answered questions and then they went away and we took off. But we parked the plane on a military base in Agra.
Oh.
I don't think it has a full-size airport otherwise.
Makes sense.
So I'm wondering if there is some change because of that.
Sure.
I mean, military things always play a role, and you never know if it's going to be good or bad.
Yeah.
The circumstances, not necessarily yours.
Yeah.
So, much like Egypt's kind of close to things going on right now with.
Well, right.
Yeah. So,
that
questionable.
could impact things too, for sure.
So, Hong Kong.
Yeah, highlights of Hong Kong.
Oh my gosh. So people often ask, is Hong Kong Park a one-day park? Yes, but it's up to you. You
Yeah.
know, you can do as much or as little, and lines will play a factor. Again, we stayed at the Hong Kong Disneyland Hotel. When we arrived, we had a private reception area in the lobby, and they had food and drink for us, snacks, desserts. Shocker. But when you looked out the window, you don't think you're in Hong Kong. You think you're in Hawaii or
Yeah.
Tahiti. You don't realize that Hong Kong is just this island. I mean, you know it, but you don't realize it. And you're looking out this window, and it's this major tropical vista, and you're doing this head shake thing because you don't really. Well, at no time did we necessarily realize where we were, because I don't remember if it was from Shanghai to Hong Kong or from Tokyo to Shanghai, somewhere in there, because we lost a day from Anchorage to Tokyo. So we lost a day. Then somewhere after Tokyo, we lost, I haven't figured this out, 2.5 hours. So not only do you not know where you are, you don't know when you are. So, because every morning you have to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get stuff done. So 5 o'clock, 2.5 hours later, 5 o'clock in the morning, 2.5 hours earlier, you just don't know what time zone you're in relation to home. You just you can't worry about it. It's just going to always be 5:30 in the morning, if not earlier. But Hong Kong was just beautiful. There was a lot of differences, but the entrance, you felt like you were walking into Disneyland in California. The landscape with the turnstiles, only they weren't turnstiles, but with the whole facade, you felt in the photograph, it looks like Disneyland. You cannot tell the difference per se.
Oh, that's crazy.
And then when you get through get under and around, and you look at where the castle is in Main Street, you realize there's differences.
Right.
But it still feels very familiar. And we have our obligatory castle photo.
I love this park only because I love Disneyland so much. And they really modeled it after the original park. Because there's so many Magic Kingdom, Tokyo's Magic Kingdom, is very similar to Disney World and stuff. And so it's like, where's the Disneyland? And so Hong Kong. And so, yeah, I just look at this and I'm like, oh, it's like a newer version of our park that we love so much.
Yeah.
Well, in the Haunted Mansion, and you've got you've got
Mystic Manor.
You've got so many things that are familiar but so different.
Yeah.
So special. And same with Shanghai. The cultures play a part in some of the different attractions. Ghosts are a thing, trains are a thing, so you have to respect the different cultures. But Hong Kong, while it was only a one-day need, this was the day it was so hot and humid that after we did all of the obligatory stuff with the Imagineers and breakfast and photos and a workout with Mickey, as you have to do your not yoga, but your Tai Chi.
Oh, Tai Chi, yeah.
With
Tai
Mickey.
Chi with Mickey, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that went well. It warmed up real quick, and it warmed up a lot. And we were listening to a presentation in a covered area by a restaurant. And inside that restaurant, we had an area cordoned off just for us for a period of time, so that if we needed a place to hang, we had a place. And it was air conditioned. And we had breakfast, a large breakfast, and weren't hungry, but it was one of those situations where it's too freaking hot, and our only alternative is to go inside and eat in the air conditioning. So we did. I mean, it was about lunchtime technically anyway, so why not? And this restaurant was very fun. I don't know if it's true of all of the restaurants in the parks, but if you ordered the pork bao, they looked like little pigs.
Oh,
it was pork. And then they had chicken and, so the different things were recognizable without having to have
that's
signage.
fun. Yeah.
So you felt kind of guilty biting into it. It was so cute, but no problem. And it was good, It
There
wasn't
you go.
like how we get here, which are all dough and maybe a teaspoon of some kind of
Right.
filling. Those had filling. Trust me. So it was good. It wasn't the cheapest stuff, but it was just fun and nice and air conditioned.
Mm.
And that was the hottest day we endured, and it was off the charts hot and humid.
Wow.
Everybody was just like, I don't want to do anything. I can't.
Yeah.
You cannot make me move. And our tour guides were like, well, what do you want to do? And we're like, we've got to do it. You've got to just suck it up. So we did. We went on just about every ride in the heat and humidity. We got around, and I had a scooter, thank goodness. And we
That
managed.
actually went a decent speed.
Yes. The only ones that were ridiculous were in Tokyo. It's just, it just, everybody else was quite normal. The ones in France had a little bit more get up and go than the ones here.
Mm.
So I will take the ones in Paris over the ones in America.
There you go.
Sure.
But that being said, not in Tokyo.
I have to ask one thing about Hong Kong,
Sure.
and that is, what did you think of the castle? Because it's Sleeping Beauty Castle with
They've built onto.
augmentation.
Yeah.
Yes. All of the castles, I have to say that I can't really, Disneyland Anaheim is my castle. But that being said, they're all special because they're all unique. And it's hard to pick a favorite for any reason.
Sure.
They all have their nuances, and that's what makes them special. You can't really say, I like this one better than that one. It's different. They're not apples comparing to apples. You're comparing apples and oranges. The different designers, different architecture, different enhancements. So I liked it. Shanghai was probably more fun. But no, it was lovely. It just is different. And you just have to go just like going to the different parks. You just have to approach it that if there are similarities, embrace them because they're familiar and you know what to do and how to do it. But in spite of that, they're all different. So you have to approach them that way because that's what makes them special, not just the fact that it's in Shanghai or Hong Kong or Paris. They all have their draw, their uniqueness. The only thing they have in common is Walt Disney's imagination taken to different levels by the Imagineers.
Yep, and interpreted differently throughout the years.
Yeah.
That's a good way to say it.
So
it looks like. Oh, go ahead.
No. So when you ask me about the Hong Kong castle, it's great. It's just not the same as any of the others. That's all.
Yeah. It just is interesting. Like, I think they did a really beautiful job, like grafting the two things kind of together, because that wasn't the original design.
Right.
And I just think it's neat. And I just was curious what it looked like in person, because even like the Paris castle, which I've been to Paris, and I do think it's the most beautiful Disney castle, but it looked different in person than in any pictures I had seen of it. So I was just curious.
They do.
I'm sure it's the same way with Hong Kong.
Yes, they look different in person because there's a perspective involved and there's a level of detail involved. But also the time of day makes an impression too. So sunrise versus sunset versus the other day, they all have a story to tell, and different times of day they tell a different story just because of the way the light hits them or you're standing, and whether it's in or out or up above looking down on it. They're all special. There's just no other way to put it.
So it looks like after Hong Kong, you kind of went away from Disney parks for the next couple of
That's
stops.
the National Geographic input.
Yeah.
And yes, there are still pins.
And desserts, I'm guessing. Desserts.
And desserts.
Too.
And desserts.
So let's hear about the next two non-Disney park stops.
As I mentioned earlier, our flight went from Hong Kong to a major city in India where we did cleared customs without actually having to do anything. And then we flew over to Agra, which is where the Taj Mahal is located. So we got on our buses. We were not allowed to take photographs. Once we got on the plane, they told us no photographs when we get into India airspace, basically, because we were landing on a military base, active military base. So, the guns, and we walk through and get on buses. And then we go through these massive iron gates. They're not flat. It's a solid iron door. And then the bus goes through, and then they close the doors. And you see just dusty and gray, and then pops of bright colors on animals and carts, and then dusty and gray. And oh yeah, there's a monkey. It's like, what? The size of a small pony. I mean, these were not small monkeys that were kind of hanging around the business areas, because I guess they were foraging food and kind of keeping an eye on things they could grab. At one point, somebody yelled my name, and I'm like, what? And they said, look out your window. And a gecko or something had attached itself to the window by me on the bus.
Oh, wow.
And it was a translucent kind of a thing. It's lizard-like, but I don't know what kind.
Yeah.
And that it disappeared, and then it was back. So I had several pictures of that little guy. As we're driving along, I mean, he's holding on for dear life and managed to stay with us for a while. But, amidst all of this dusty, dirty, all of a sudden you pull up to the Oberoi, and it's this marble mecca, and you're just kind of like, how did this happen? We made a turn, and suddenly it's lush green and bougainvillea and other tropical kind of plants. They've got flowering and blooming that are green, and marble. Everything's marble and inlaid marble. And India is known for their inlaid marble.
Yeah.
And so everything is made from marble. And we get into the hotel, and the lobby has a picture window. And there's the Taj Mahal.
Wow.
You're looking straight at it. And this lobby is amazing. And so we had time to go to our rooms, and every room had this patio-sized balcony, which was wonderful. Great picture windows. Everybody had a view of the Taj Mahal and the massive archwayed gate that nobody knows anything about, but it's in the view. And there's a little sticker on the where the lock is for the door to the patio.
Yeah.
And it says, keep the door shut so the monkeys don't come in.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that's the first time I've had that happen in a hotel.
You're like, I'm not sure if I want to go out there.
I want to open the door.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I can close it again.
Yeah.
I go out, and it's the stark contrast is just in your face. You can't avoid it. It's a lush forest around the perimeter of this hotel. And then beyond that lush green is the smog, the gray, the what everybody knows about the slums of India. You can't not see that. So go back in, change, again, gifts, food, desserts in the room, and get dressed, and we're in time for dinner. So we go down for dinner, and there's a gentleman playing some kind of a musical instrument, which was cool. Everybody is dead tired. I mean, the heat, humidity of Hong Kong, we have not had a chance to recover from. And we couldn't sleep on the plane because Becky did a presentation, and we couldn't this, and we couldn't that. So
Becky, don't you want a nap? Take a nap, Becky.
Know, seriously. I had that conversation with her. And she's like, well, that's what I'm here for. I'm like, that's not fair. I'm so glad for you.
Like, can we record these so we can watch them later?
No,
so we can.
You can't take pictures. You can't record it.
Yeah.
It's now or never. And it's So we go to dinner, and this is India. And all of us, I suspect, have had access to an Indian restaurant here in the United States.
Yeah.
You realize when you eat the Indian food, how much sugar is in the Indian food here.
Oh.
The food tasted, I wanted to bathe in it. It was so good. The chicken tikka masala, the butter chicken.
Yeah.
I have never had flavors like that in my mouth before.
Wow.
I wasn't hungry. I was just tired, but I couldn't get enough of this stuff. I didn't eat dessert. Sorry. I just couldn't. But I had snacks in the room that were sweets, but it was amazing. We then went after dinner. We had presentations, if you will. There was entertainment, and it was how to tie scarves and how to do head things for the guys. And we each got a scarf, and we went to bed because we had to be up at 3:00 in the morning.
Ooh.
Oh, not even 5.
Oh,
3.
that woke you up. Yeah.
Yeah.
3 a.m.
Oh.
Because again, remember, we don't know what time zone we're in. We don't know
Yeah.
what we are or where we are. Yeah, 3 a.m. because we have to be outside the Taj Mahal in line by 4:30 a.m.
Ooh.
It's pitch black. It's pitch black. And they put us in these electric cars, little jitney kind of things. And there's only a few of us in each of them. So there's a bazillion of them and running us over there. And then we just stand there in this dirty area with nothing that you want to touch. And we just wait. And then at a point they say, okay, everybody, here is a wooden token that you have to put in the thing when you go through the gate. Okay, fine. It's the turnstile. So all of us are out there. I mean, there were very few people that decided to miss this because the big deal is A, it's cooler. B, there's nothing like sunrise over the Taj Mahal, I guess. Just at the Taj Mahal, there's nothing like that anyway. And then the other thing is the crowd level is less. You're the first ones in, you're going to get photos with nobody in them.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was the goal. We accomplished this. No scooter, did it all on crutches.
Hey.
And I'm proud of myself. I was at the top of this short stairway and I heard the next group behind me going, God, I wonder if Jocey's going to be able to do this. Is Jocey even trying? Blah, 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 blah. And they get to the top and I'm like, oh my God, you did it. Like, yes. I was so glad. You wear booties. They give you booties to put over your shoes when you're walking on, I don't even know what to call it other than a huge patio area.
Oh, yeah.
Before going into the actual mausoleum.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there are no pictures allowed inside the mausoleum because it is a crypt. But the story's interesting. She died elsewhere because she was wife number 1 and was then eliminated. Another wife came into the picture.
Eliminated.
But she was always his first love and his true love. So when she passed away elsewhere, she was buried, and then he started building this, and then the Taj Mahal, and then when it was to a point, then he had her body brought over, and there was a temporary crypt built for her before her final resting place inside this mausoleum. So that crypt is still there. Kind of weird. It's still there, empty, but there. So in the meantime, the son finds that his father is being a little ridiculous, even though that's his mother he's building this thing for. But it's a waste of money, and he's wanting to oust his dad. He wants to be ruler. So he exiles his dad basically to this fort. And in this room in the fort, he had a view of the Taj Mahal.
Oh.
So he had to watch the mausoleum the rest of his life from this room.
Wow.
Fort. Like, okay, kind of family dynamics. Gotta love it, right?
Wow.
And when he died, then he was buried next to her in the mausoleum. Very different looking setups, but nonetheless, he's next to her.
Yeah.
The inlaid marble is indescribable. One of our excursions, if you chose it, was to this one marble factory. And one of our gifts in the room was an inlaid marble tile,
Oh, wow.
which
Wow.
doesn't weigh light. It's heavy.
I was going to say, that's why they didn't care about the weight, right?
Yeah,
They knew this was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't care while we were on the trip. It's the me going home I had to worry about.
Right.
It was
Sure.
not funny. Anyway, so I did that because I wanted to see how they do it. And this is where you get a real taste of how poverty the people who live in poverty remain in their circumstances. The equipment that they use to make the parts that become inlaid into the marble,
Mm-hmm.
they have this whole family, and it's apparently a family thing. You hand it down how you do this.
Sure,
So
yeah.
it's several generations of the same family that are sitting in front of you. And these pieces of lapis at this point in time they have these little nothing tools. They're very crude, the kind of thing that when you see a dig in some archaeological dig,
Oh,
and you see these crude tools, that's
Yeah.
what they're using. They're not using anything mechanical. It's all very
wow.
hand done, every aspect of it. And they're sitting on the floor. I mean, I'd be blind from the distance I was at. I don't know how the heck they're sitting there and doing this. I mean, it's microscopic. You look at some of this inlay detail, and it's barely discernible. Pinhead is big for some of the work that they have to create, and they create these butterflies and they create flowers, and we're watching them do it, and it's unbelievable. And
Wow.
they have no choice. They're not being paid a lot for this, but in this country, that's the kind of craftsmanship that would be demanding a much greater salary.
Yeah.
Wow.
But, this is the way it is. And the guy who's showing this family off, it's just that you just get a real feel for the disparity in the country. So after all the food that we have in India, and all of the restrictions, because we're not supposed to have salad, not supposed to have fruit, not supposed to have this, not supposed to have that. We get on the plane, and the food that we're served, this packaged or plated food, is salad, fruit, and something else that we weren't supposed to eat. So,
Oh, no.
And everybody's like, "Oh no, it's perfectly fine," and we're like, "It was made in a kitchen in India where we're not supposed to eat this stuff." And they're like, "Oh no, it's made on the plane." And I had talked to the chef, so I know it's not made on the plane.
Right.
He doesn't have a fruit tree and a lettuce garden on the plane, so it had to come from somewhere. So again, we another 2.5 hours somewhere, and we're off to Giza. When I was there in October a year ago, this airport did not exist.
Oh, wow.
So the Giza International, I think it's Sphinx International. Anyway, it's brand new. There's nobody really in there except a few people working there. So we get there, getting onto our buses, and those who want to go to Cairo, to the Cairo Museum, the original Cairo Museum. Now, that museum will be closing sometime soon because the new Great Egyptian Museum in Giza will be opening finally. It's been years that it's been teased, and they're finally going to be able to open it. They have been keeping the King Tut exhibit alive in the Cairo Museum in Cairo to keep that an active, viable museum till the gem is opened. And so now that there is an opening date for the gem, that stuff is going to be moved, and then it will open up, that will close. That building will have to be repurposed. So anyway, we haven't had any sleep. It's hot, not really humid now, just hot. And everybody is bussed over to Cairo to go to that museum, which is not air conditioned. And it's not a comfortable museum at all. And those of us that have been there before opted to go straight to the hotel. And we got to see directly the exterior of the new museum, which when I was there in October wasn't there yet either. It was not finished. We were not able to drive that close by it. and it looked to be the size of 8 airplane hangars.
Wow.
This museum, according to my Egyptologist from my Adventures by Disney trip in October, said that they had originally thought that they would have 1-day tickets, maybe 3-day tickets. After going through all of the archives in the Cairo Museum, they realized that this thing was going to be bigger than they ever anticipated. And suddenly hotels have popped up rapidly and in great numbers in Giza, because it's going to be 5 to 7 days to get through this museum.
Ooh.
I'm just looking at the satellite view, and
Oh.
this thing is like,
It's
I
its
don't
own
know,
city.
7 city blocks or some
It's
ridiculousness.
enormous.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
One room has one full-size statue on its back in it, and those statues were, 50 feet. So
Yeah.
one room is at least 100 feet because you've got walking room around it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's incredible what they've done and how they've done it. One of the things that they found in the archives of the Cairo Museum that they didn't know they had, that will be on display in the new museum, is, you're going to laugh, they found one of the things buried with King Tut was a supply of underwear.
Oh.
Underwear in those days was just the cotton fabric
Yeah.
that you wrap around, in a diaper fold, basically. And they knew it was his because it was used, even though washed. They
Oh,
found DNA in a way on it somehow to determine it
Wow.
was his. Crazy. I mean, and so things are going to be on display that have never had a chance to be
wow.
out for view.
That's incredible.
So when you go visit Egypt in the future, anybody listening to this, basically your entire vacation will be spent looking at this one museum once it's open.
I recommend spending an extra week in
Yeah, just for
Egypt,
the museum.
just for the museum. We stayed at the Mena House, which is a Marriott-related property. And the Mena House
Looks like it has a great view of the pyramids.
Oh yeah. It's right there. The Great
Yeah.
Pyramid is right there. There is a palace on the property, and that used to be one of the kings. That used to be his hunting lodge. That palace. The palace has gone untouched, and they've been refurbishing it for the last year or so, and it will become kind of like a convention center kind of space. And they're adding extra hotel rooms to it. So I got to see some of the refurbishment that they've been doing, which was very cool. When I was there in October, it was not accessible, but it will be
I'm
done.
just amazed at like the layout. I guess honestly, I don't think I've ever looked at a satellite view of this area of the world.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like there's a lot of things kind of all right in together here.
Well, when you fly into the Giza International Airport, you suddenly realize that you're seeing pyramids on the ground,
Yeah.
and they look real small from up there.
Yeah.
Then when you get to the bottom of them and you look up, you realize
You're like,
not
oh.
so much. that little triangle down on the ground is a massive pyramid from the ground up.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of these
So
days I want to get to Egypt.
What were some of the
I
things that you
recommend
got
it.
to do when you were there?
In Egypt,
Mm-hmm.
we weren't there 24 hours.
No.
I was going to say, look at the list. Day 16 is Cairo. Day
Yep.
17 is Paris.
Yep.
I'm like, wow.
Yeah. We landed. Some went straight to Cairo for that museum.
Yeah.
They went straight to the hotel. They came back. Then it was like around 5, 6 o'clock. They got back around 5, and around 6 o'clock, we went over to the pyramids and the Sphinx. And that's after things are closed. So we had access that normal people don't have access to.
That's neat.
Yeah, very neat. And going into the pyramid, which everybody can do, but you don't want to do it when there's other people doing it because it gets hot and humid in there.
Sure, yeah.
So it has had a chance to cool down a little bit. People are not in there other than our group. So it's easier to deal with. It's very steep stairs. And the Queen's Chamber is first, which is, none of these chambers are empty. So you go up to the Queen's Chamber, and then from there you can go up to the King's Chamber. And then you come back down these very steep steps, and there's what I call the basement. There's a little room down below. Not everybody goes into that one because it's claustrophobia waiting
Sure.
to happen. But it's pretty incredible. And Adventures by Disney has unprecedented access to these two items, so it's worth
Wow.
it. I like I said before, I highly recommend Adventures by Disney trips. We did adults only to Egypt,
Mm-hmm.
and the 19 of us that had been postponed because of COVID 3 times were like family. So we've all kept in touch. So when I got to the hotel to Mena House, when the others went to the museum, I contacted my Egyptologist and told her I was there. She came over. So I got
Oh,
the Egyptologist for my Egypt trip. And
oh,
my
that's
ABD
neat.
guide was going to come, but his next ABD group was arriving that night, so he couldn't come.
Sure. Sure.
So
Wow.
we're all working on getting a reunion trip together. So I cannot say enough about those trips, the Adventures by Disney. I just cannot.
Amazing.
Yeah, they really go all out and bend over backward to make it the most amazing experiences. But anyway, after the
Incredible.
Sphinx and the pyramid, you came back and had dinner, and there was entertainment, and everybody is exhausted, hot, sweaty, tired, wanting to drop dead. And we have to have everything out of the room by 5 o'clock. And we were only allowed to take our carry-on with us, not the big luggage. That stayed on the plane.
Oh, yeah.
So you had the when we were in India, we had to repack with the
Yeah.
time we didn't have. You had to repack so that the little suitcase had everything you needed for the next
Mm.
36 hours.
Gotcha.
It got complicated. And so in Egypt, we put everything out at 5 a.m. Then we have breakfast, and then we're shuttled off to the plane for our long flight to Paris.
Mm.
Yeah, still no sleep on the plane.
I was gonna say we're getting towards the end of the trip now.
Yeah.
It sounds like it, but yeah, no.
It was quite the adventure.
With Paris, again, we had excursion opportunities. When we landed, 4:30 p.m. hotel check-in, meet in the conference center lobby to walk to Disneyland Paris. Welcome to France buffet dinner. I don't remember that. And oh yeah, I do. Yeah. I'd been to Disneyland Paris a few times, but this was a restaurant I had never even gotten to. So
Oh,
that was
sure.
kind of fun. They created a buffet for us and shut this restaurant down to the public.
Oh,
We had a private dinner. So we had entertainment while we were eating. And okay, remember that heat wave I told you Europe was having?
Yeah.
yeah.
It broke.
That's
So when
good.
we got there, it was cold, wet, and freezing.
Oh no.
And you had
So
shipped all your
everybody-
stuff home.
We had,
Yeah.
yeah. So everybody had to go out and buy stuff.
Mm.
Yeah. So I got a sweatshirt, a Spirit jersey, and other people
Yeah.
got stuff. But yeah. So in the rain, we're doing things. It was fun. It was an adventure, right?
Yeah, there you go. The
Oh,
theme
we
of
got-
the trip.
Exactly. So went over to Disneyland Paris. The Disneyland Hotel, unfortunately, was still being refurbished,
Oh.
and it needed it. It had never had a complete and thorough refurbishment, so it's a good thing. But that hotel is the experience, and you want to stay there if you can, because once you go through security to check into the hotel, you never need to go through security again.
Oh
But
wow.
staying in the peripheral hotels, you have to go
Mhm.
through security every time you go toward downtown Disney.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's kind of a big perk, actually.
It
It's
is
a huge
huge.
perk. It's a big deal in the morning, especially. But we stayed in what is now, what was the New York Hotel and is now the Marvel Hotel.
Mhm.
Again, still not a fan, but okay. But what was interesting, the store in the hotel had nothing Disney. It was only Marvel stuff.
Hmm.
It was really weird.
They were really in theme.
Yes, they were. And the ECV here was a real scooter. I mean, this sucker moved, even in the rain. Oh, when we arrived there, they had a big Marvel themed in this one meeting room. It was huge. They had all kinds of, you guessed it, desserts and drinks for us to snack on until our respective rooms were ready, because they gave us our numbers and as they were ready. So the rooms in Paris are a little different. They have now, for environmental reasons, limitations on the air conditioning in the hotel rooms.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to give your listeners a tidbit of trivia. when you are, and not everybody's going to like hearing this, when you check into a hotel room, you always want to have it at 68 degrees or colder. It's much like an operating room. You want to keep the bacteria at bay. If you have a hotel room that gets heated up and you take a hot shower, bacteria can grow and it can accumulate. So here we are in France, and I can't get the air to even move in the room.
Oh.
So they brought me a fan, but I couldn't even get in and out of the bed because of some ride in Hong Kong messed with my back. So
Yeah.
I literally put a mattress on the floor and slept on that.
Oh no.
Housekeeping wasn't quite sure what to make of it, but my fractured French and their fractured English, we finally got it figured out. And more gifts and more food in the room. And yes, more pins. I think by the end of the trip, we were gifted somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 pins.
Wow.
Now, the Adventures pins were very, very special. And you will probably never see them on eBay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing.
Yes,
That
it
is
is.
a good thing.
There are a few of us have been watching over time to see if any of the merch that we were given showed up. And so far, nobody has sold anything. And I'm not surprised. It was all very special. The pins have an airplane on the back instead
That's
of
so
wheels.
cool. Mm-hmm.
So that's how you know whether or not it's from this trip.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Back to Paris. So we have dinner, then we have a laundry opportunity. So I hand off some laundry, and the next day it comes back. Okay, Tokyo did a great job with the laundry packaging, returning it. It was phenomenal. I am forever going to have my laundry done in Paris.
Oh, wow.
They returned the basics. The underwear was gift boxed.
Oh, jeez.
The t-shirts, the pants were all on these amazing wire hangers in a garment bag.
Wow.
It wasn't a throwaway garment bag either.
Yeah.
One you keep. Laundry in Paris, definitely happening. Don't know how much it costs because it was included, but I don't care. I'm doing it next time I'm there.
There you go.
Taking my dirty laundry. We had Imagineers. We had the morning after the dinner. We had, of course, our obligatory castle photo. And then we had a presentation by not the park president, which had been the case in all the other parks, but a gentleman who was like head of Imagineering or something. I mean, he was just in charge of way too much. And he spent a good amount of time with us. And we were in the equivalent of the Golden Horseshoe for breakfast and for presentations. Then we got to have our first ride of the day. We were the first riders on Big Thunder.
Oh,
Big Thunder, there's
that's
amazing.
amazing. Yeah, what
fabulous.
an amazing.
And I couldn't ride it, so I positioned myself in such a way that I videoed everybody coming with the cars coming. So I've got to share those videos with everybody. But I was taking pictures along with the official photographer for the park. I was sharing shots with him with me. It was great. But their Phantom Manor, I just love the way they theme everything to tie together.
Yeah.
The only thing I was disappointed about this trip was that the dinosaur graveyard was cordoned off. They're working over there. I don't know what's going on, but it wasn't visible. So they lost a little of their storyline. But had a great day. We had, again, VIP plaid type access to everything. Got to have photo ops with Mickey and a couple other characters, and just had an easy day, even though it was a sunny day. It got rainy again later that day, but during the day it was gorgeous. So we were going out a little bit and just having a good time going around the park and doing stuff. And two in our group were brave and did the launch on their equivalent of Space Mountain.
Oh, yep.
It was another one of those situations where the money came in handy and we went and bought our own lunch. And that was in the Avengers area. So their Avengers campus area is a little bit different from Disneyland in California. The restaurants were similar, but not the same. And the food, of course, is a little bit different, but not drastically so.
Sure.
Yeah. So
something a little familiar then.
Yeah, it was nice.
Was there time to do stuff outside of the Disney parks and be able to go see Paris, or was it mainly just parks?
One of the excursions that I had selected was canceled, but the other one I got to do, which was I wanted to take it's a Macron cooking class.
Oh,
French cooking school.
Wow, yeah.
And again, dessert.
Yeah, more dessert. And you got to learn how to make it at home.
I got to, they're so easy. They really are not difficult. The inside part that's hard. Making the meringue cookie part is fairly easy. It's the middle part that's tricky because it can't be too runny because then it disintegrates the meringue.
Yep.
But you also have to have enough time to refrigerate so that it congeals and doesn't slide off. They were so good. And of course you have to drink champagne while you're making them. Because you're in France, right?
Yeah.
French cooking schools without wine and champagne.
What was the excursion that you wanted to do that they canceled?
That happened with a few things just because of the weather or logistics, not enough people signing up for it. At this point, I don't remember. Because
I see that
it was like, okay, I don't need, it gave me some downtime, so I was okay with it.
Yeah. Because the ones they're going to have on the next trip are obviously Another Day in Disneyland Paris,
right?
Or Versailles, or something called the Icons and Impressions Tour.
Oh, I don't know. The Icons is a new one. Versailles was an option, but I couldn't do that on crutches. So
the Icons and Impressions Tour says that it cruise the streets of Paris in an iconic French car as you see the biggest landmarks in the City of Light.
Okay, now in here. This trip is not all buses. When you got to Paris to go places, they were like Mercedes.
Oh, jeez.
So a Mercedes comes to pick me up to take me to my Macron class. It was like, for just me, okay. And then for that Icons tour, I think it was called something else because friends did go on a sightseeing thing. And each couple had their own chauffeur driven like Mercedes. They were all driven around in high-end cars, like they were celebrity types. So it was pretty cool. I mean, everything about this, they did treat us like VIPs.
Mm-hmm.
Only I don't know. Some of the things we did, VIPs don't know to do, I don't think, or have access to. But it's pretty.
You had some elevated VIP experiences.
Some of them,
Mm-hmm.
In getting to my Macron class, I got to see Notre Dame. I got to see a lot of the exterior of the Louvre. I didn't want to do that tour. It was an option because, again, with the walking on crutches, on slippery floors, I didn't want to risk it in a crowd. It's tricky.
Well, you need like a whole day for that anyway.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame looked, sad.
Yeah.
Scaffolding but they're still hoping to have it ready for New Year's, but I don't know, or Christmas. I think it was Christmas. They wanted to have Christmas services there. I don't know how much of it will actually be done in time, but they're working diligently and it's getting there. It just was so sad to see it in that state.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm grateful that what's there is still there.
Yeah, yeah. You know what's interesting is we were talking about this in Marceline when you were talking about this tour. I think you and I were there about a month apart, so we kind of saw a lot of Paris at the same time frame because we also had some rainy weather, which I had actually thought that you were in the park the same time I might have been in the park, but it's about a month later. But yeah, I agree with you that seeing it still there, because I had gone to Paris back in 2012 and before the fire. And so when I went this last time, it was definitely like a somber kind of place, but they're doing a great job.
They really are. And it's wonderful how it's kind of brought people together. This goal to get this icon back, because it's something that's in your backyard and you take for granted, and then you realize how fragile it is, and
Yeah.
it's almost gone.
Yeah.
And suddenly people are rallying that probably never gave it a second thought before.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
We're coming into the final stop, and then I'm trying to figure out, I didn't open any of the days yet, but I'm like, how did you spend 1, 2, 3, 5 days in Orlando?
Well, I just looked. Day 24 is just breakfast and then going to the airport.
Oh, okay. Okay. I mean, there's a lot to see in Disney
Yeah,
World.
there
Like,
is.
don't get me
There is.
wrong, but I feel like there's a lot to see in a lot of these places, and they were like, we're in and we're out.
Yeah, well, here's one of the more important things before we even get to Florida. And this
Sure.
we were very grateful for, very grateful. Keeping in mind how much stuff we have accumulated and some of which has been shipped, we have to go through customs coming home.
Oh. Mhm.
So we were originally going to stop to refuel in Nova Scotia, but they were able to wangle it so that we refueled in Bangor, Maine, and could do customs there.
Oh.
Oh,
And
nice.
it was like a naval air station base kind of situation. So it's not real populated. It's not real anything. And it was wonderful. I was first in line, and the guy said, "Where have you been?" I said, "Everywhere." And he said, "Okay, well, here's
Mhm.
your passport." Okay. Didn't ask me if I bought anything. We didn't have to fill any paperwork out. No question.
Oh, wow.
Other people got asked, "So did you buy anything?" "Yeah, a few things, souvenirs." Okay. They didn't care. It was great.
Well, they're probably like, it's a Disney organized thing. It's probably not anything crazy.
And that's another thing that's interesting. At all of the airports, even in Egypt. Oh, there's a funny story in Egypt too. It's like the plane was some kind of a special guest. So people were flocking that work at the airports were flocking to the runways to watch us land and take off.
Mm.
It was really bizarre. I mean, it was even at this Bangor, Maine place, people are like, "What is this plane and who's on it and why is it here?" Because our artwork is nondescript and unknown to anybody. So is it a
Yeah.
foreign country, or what is this? There was nothing distinguishing it as Disney. Okay, so Bangor, Maine, we had to get off the plane. Then we get back on the plane and we fly to Walt Disney World. I don't remember, because we were all by this time quite obliterated in the eyeball department. I don't remember the plane landing. I don't remember getting on a bus, but we did.
Yeah.
He drove us to the Grand Floridian, and we pulled up to the convention center section, the Port Cochere there, and offloaded. And everybody, a bunch of people are there with the Mickey hands welcoming us, and go inside and get photos with Mickey. Guess what? No dessert.
No.
No desserts.
dessert.
But we were going to be going off to dinner, so it was okay. It was a lot of chaos because some of the Golden Oak people were trying to figure out, can I sneak off and go home and take stuff? Do I have to stay in the hotel? Yes, you have to stay in the hotel. You have to check into the hotel, use it, don't use it, but you have to take advantage of it in some way, shape, or form. So there was a lot of different people doing different things. Yes, I got a scooter. The rooms were fabulous. We were all facing the lake. So the first night it was dinner, and then we were supposed to stay up for fireworks. I think there were 3 people that made it. The fireworks. Everybody went and just collapsed.
Yeah.
Because suddenly we were in a familiar time zone, in a familiar setting with familiar everything.
Yeah.
So the rooms that we were in had Mary Poppins theme. So when the chandeliers all have the clear glass globes, but one of them is shaped like a penguin. It's really cute.
Fun.
But it's Mary Poppins theme. So we walk into the room, and here's the dessert. It's not the culinary staff at the Grand Floridian went above and beyond anybody's expectation on the planet. They created, using Rice Krispie and fondant, they created a suitcase that had travel stickers on it and leather straps made out of chocolate fondant. And then on top of that was a world globe.
Wow.
And they gave us a box to put it in if you wanted to take it home.
Oh,
well, since I was getting out of plane, I couldn't take it home, so I gave it to somebody I knew who lived in Florida. But others ate it. It was about 8 to 10 inches tall. I mean, it was a very elaborate, decorative, and there was other stuff too in the room.
Jeez, yeah.
But that was the dessert element, and it had little, like a couple of macarons and some candies around that. So I ate those things. But absolutely an amazing way to end the trip, because as most people know, Walt Disney World does a lot of backstage experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
We got some that they don't do.
Wow.
We went in places that are not intended for tours or tourists.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to do, and in no particular order because my brain is like mush, we got to go to the stables over at, is it Wilderness?
Oh,
Tri-Circle D Ranch.
Tri-Circle D.
Okay,
That's what it
thank
is.
you. Yes. So we've got to go in areas that people are not allowed over there, and we weren't allowed to take pictures, but they created a couple of photo ops for us with one of the original stagecoaches and a couple of the horses. Then we also did the Flavor Lab, which didn't exist until 2015. It used to be that those who created the restaurants, those who created the menus and the food, drinks, were in different locations and would have to come together for meetings in order to create the experience.
Yeah.
At some point, it was decided that they would create the Flavor Lab. So under one roof, and nobody knew where we were going, including the bus drivers. It's like uncharted area.
Yeah.
Backstage in the Walt Disney World. Under one roof, you have the design, and by design, it's also utensils, appliances, not just the structure of the building and the enhancements.
Oh, sure.
Then you have the drink portion of it, and then you have the food portion of it. And we got to experience all three of these. So we got to see blueprints for a new restaurant that was coming, and they talked about the different aspects of involvement and how the team comes together for different information. And then we went over to the room about the drinks where they create, and we got to try a new drink that was going to be used in this new restaurant.
Oh, neat.
And from there, we went over to the food creation side of things with the chefs. And yes, more desserts. They created some desserts for us on a smaller scale that they'll be using in the new restaurant.
Wow.
And they talked about the menus for a couple of the restaurants that newly opened.
Yeah.
Incredible. To take a picture of the signage inside, but nothing that identified where it was. Absolutely none. We also got to do where that big fish tank is, that aquarium.
Oh, the Living Seas. Yeah.
Okay. So backstage there is not back, it's above. So we got to go where the feeders go, the trainers go, the doctors go. And because I was on a scooter, they let me go up the elevator, and I got to see where the porpoises go off stage.
Oh.
I got a look from one of the dolphins who was not happy that there was a stranger in his backyard. But that's okay.
That's funny.
But we got to go around the whole perimeter, and everybody else got to go up the middle and then walk the catwalk that kind of bisects.
Yeah, yeah.
But I got to go all the way around and then backstage with the one dolphin pen. It's quite fascinating how they have everything segmented in that tank. You don't realize it when you're down below looking in, because the way things are positioned, it just looks like there's this big rock formation over here, and there's this over there and that over there. But things are definitely partitioned so that things don't mingle that shouldn't mingle. And where the recovery section is, there was a tortoise who was recovering from some disease that affected his shell, and he's in the last stages of recovery. So the shell is back, it just hasn't hardened yet. So he's He's got a little bit of a ways to go, but he'll be back out among them soon. So that was really cool. We got to tour the hospital, the animal hospital from the inside, not from the outside with the windows. We were in the operating room and the exam room, all of the other areas over there. We did have our obligatory castle photo early in the morning. Did have food. The nice thing was for a couple of the breakfasts, we had sack lunches basically for breakfast. So that was nice. It was moderate. It was easy to deal with.
I see a behind the scenes monorail tour. Was that a thing for you?
Yes. Because of the confined space, it is not an area where people normally tour.
Sure.
And you go upstairs, which I had to do with the crutches, no big deal. And then it's hot, so they had ice cream bars for us. That was very nice of them. They explained about the various elements of both the monorail, the track, and the interaction thereof. And they did it in phases so that the three groups of us were kind of rotating. But when we had to crisscross, it was a little tight and a little crazy. We had a photo op up there, and then they gave us a gift, which was about, it's a good sized chunk of metal. They gave us a piece of track, which is funny.
Wow.
You don't realize how heavy a small piece of that steel really is, but it's pretty heavy. So we each had a piece of track that we brought.
That's neat, though.
It's very cool. And it's engraved, so it's very special.
Wow.
A slab of marble from India, a piece of metal track from Disney World.
Yeah.
Let's just add some bricks while we're at it.
No, we didn't get a brick. But in Florida, we got to go on Tron, and everybody was wanting to because we wanted to compare. Oh, our final breakfast, not everybody made it, was in the Grand Floridian, not in, Victoria Albert? That's the big restaurant, right? The one next door to it, which normally doesn't do breakfast, did a buffet breakfast for us, which was really nice.
Oh, nice.
And we had a farewell dinner in the American Adventure Rotunda. Oh, this was what was so special. They blocked one of the Soarin' screens or Soarin' around the world for just us.
Oh.
So it was just us in that theater. And it was great because every time something showed up on the screen that we had been to, everybody's cheering. It was pretty cool to watch that with a different perspective.
Yeah.
Having been there, it's like now it means something more.
Freshly been there too.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, we had the private lunch in the Living Seas Salon, which was kind of cool. Oh, we got to have a private tour while they were still working on it. The new Moana feature.
Oh, yeah.
That's neat.
There still was an aspect of it that wasn't finished, but I was just there a week ago and got to see it completed during its soft opening. It is cool. If you get to Walt Disney World, it's going to be an obstruction because there's going to be so many people wanting to do it, and it's right in the middle of a flow pathway.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's a learning opportunity, but it's also just so special the way they've done it. It's beautiful. Absolutely.
It looks really fun too.
It is. And it has a bathroom. I think that pretty much covers everything except me trying to get home with all of that stuff. My bags
I'm sure that was an adventure in and of itself.
Well, I fortunately I have friends in Florida.
Oh.
And one of them, bless her heart, ran to Walmart and bought me a suitcase. So I came home with 2 full-size suitcases and that carry-on, whereas I had left with the one suitcase and
with one
carry-on, and that second suitcase was full.
I believe it.
I mean, yeah, I believe
just
it.
Pins and
I didn't have a chance to go shopping a whole lot, and my front foyer is still full of stuff. I haven't figured out where I'm going to put it.
Well, and like you were saying, it's special stuff, so it's not just like, oh yeah, thanks, but
yeah, you can't. It's personalized or it has meaning.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's very difficult to just walk away.
Right.
Even the silly stuff from Scott. I don't drink red wine, but the wine in the room at Skywalker was a bottle of red wine.
Oh,
I always travel with wine bladders or bottle bladders. So I put it in a bladder and put it in my suitcase. That bottle has been around the world, and then I gifted it to a friend of mine with the stipulation that I get the bottle when it's empty.
oh, that's fun.
So there's a lot of little things memories that a trip like this generates
Mm-hmm.
that are personal or personal to the group as a whole
Yeah.
or to whoever your traveling companions are. I met some amazing people that I will keep in touch with forever. Bottom line, as I said earlier, would I do it again? In a heartbeat. In a
Yeah.
heartbeat. I just not in July or August.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. June might be a little better. I don't know. But July, no thank you.
Man, I just feel it's such an amazing experience you were able to do. And as much as you've shared with us, I'm sure that there is at least that amount of stuff that you did not share with us that were the little things that happened on the trip. We could talk for days probably about this.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? When I first saw it, I was like, that's a lot of money. But after all the stuff you explained and looking at their website now, I think they've fleshed out some of the details. You were the guinea pig, so I think they've like figured out some stuff now.
Yes.
Because they do actually have, I was looking at their site, they do actually have some information about like what they suggest you pack and some stuff like that that I think you would have liked to have had beforehand, but they, I guess, just didn't know. But, I think it might be worth it.
They gave us a suggested list, but it didn't jive with what we needed, actually.
Sure.
Oh, sure.
The only time we ever really needed to be dressed up was for the first dinner at the Lincoln Theater. Going to the two clubs, Club 33s, it would have been nice to have been able to dress up, but we didn't have time to go back to the hotel to do it.
Oh, right.
Oh.
Right.
And you're not going to spend all day in the hot, humid, in a nice dress or a suit.
Right.
Because you'll be icky by the time you got there anyway.
Yeah.
And then the lines to get back in the park were not necessarily going to work for you. I have friends who were naysayers I can do this on my own for cheaper. And I say, go for it. I dare you.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that you're going to have access to certain things, period. And if those aren't important to you, fine. But it's nice to be able to have the private jet and to be able to leave things on the plane, not have to schlep everything every time you get on and off. It's nice to have somebody dealing with the customs and the visas and not having to worry about that. Again, it's easy to do if you're just going to one country. But if you're trying to do all of Asia in one swell swoop, there's a little logistics involved.
Yeah.
And coordination that you may or may not be able to do as easily as someone who's done it a bunch of times and is doing it for you.
Yeah. Well, we covered a ton. For those of you listening at home, we're probably going to try to edit it down just a little bit just for time. But just so our audience knows, we're at about 3.5 hours here. So we covered quite a bit. So the last question we have for all of our guests is, if you could work at Disneyland, what would you do? Sky's the limit. This could be a real job, made-up job. What's something you like to do?
I interviewed for it once, learned the details of it in California, and did not follow through. Oh. So this is one of the experiences I did not mention that we had in Walt Disney World. We were given a tour of the enhancements warehouse.
Well, that's like where they store all their decorations and stuff.
Oh, baby. All of them. I would love to do park enhancement. Park enhancement also gets to do the cruise ships, by the way.
Ooh. Oh, that's cool.
Which is a very tricky one because you don't have a lot of opportunity. You've got while you're in port, pretty much. But I would love to do park enhancements because there's nothing like, to me, putting something together under cloak or veil, and then the next day seeing people's reactions to what you did.
Mm-hmm.
Like the process of putting the tree in on Main Street and Disneyland, or just putting all of the different pumpkins out along various places and throughout the park. Paris, Japan do all of that as well. And I think it would be so fun to be able to dress the set
That's a great answer. That really
I
is.
would, I've never, nobody's in all the people we've talked to, nobody's ever talked about any of that aspect of Disney. So that's really cool. Yeah.
Thank you. Yay.
You're a behind the scenes magic maker, which is
Yes.
just even
You're like,
better
I want to
because
make
people
it
don't
cool.
know it was you.
Yeah. I don't need the credit for it. You just want to do it.
Yeah, I'm very much a behind. I used to be a front person. Now I like being behind the scenes and watching people's reactions.
Yeah.
It's so much more fun to know that what you've done has meant something to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your discussion with us has meant something to us, and I think it probably will mean a lot to a lot of our guests our listeners who have not been able to go on this trip or may not ever be able to go on this trip, but can kind of hear what it was about. Because, you're one of 75 people who, at this point, when we've recorded this, have ever experienced this.
That's pretty wild to think about.
Isn't that kind of crazy?
Yeah. Thank you, Jocey, for all of your time and for going through that, wild and crazy adventure. The amount of details that you could just tell us off the top of your head from all of that is so impressive because it sounds like a whirlwind. I'm exhausted just thinking about what the layout of the schedule was, because I would be like you, there's no way I'd be sleeping through Becky Klein's presentations when I'm on the plane. And same thing when I got to each of those parks, I'd have to be there as early as I could be and as late as I could be. So yeah, I can't even imagine what the recovery time was for you post trip.
All of it. Okay.
She's still recovering, everyone. No.
in real quick, in a nutshell, all those of us who have been in touch with each other, all are world travelers on this trip. None of us were foreign to this kind of travel on a singular basis.
Yeah.
On a collective basis, in other words, all these parks and other stops, none of us have ever experienced a recovery period necessary like we had for this.
Yeah.
Everyone was saying this was the longest, the most difficult to recover from, because, as I said, at no time did you know when you were, because it was always be up at 5 or earlier, luggage out, be ready by 6 or 7. It's crazy, but I wouldn't trade a minute of it. Okay, maybe 1 or 2 minutes, but basically, you don't want to miss anything because there's so much. And with all of the different excursions, it's like, I want another day so I could do the other excursions that I didn't get to do, as well as more of the parks.
Yeah.
It's a tease. When I travel internationally by myself, or used to anyway, I would take a bus tour to give myself an overview of the city and kind of get oriented where things were. And that's kind of how I'm viewing this trip now, is I've done it. I know what my limitations are. And if I am able, I know what I do and go back. But here's the problem. I came back, and within a week, I was back at Disneyland within the week, because there was something going on and I had to be there. And people thought I was nuts for that too. The thing is, how do you go back after being a VIP? Go back to being not a VIP.
That's a good point. Yep. You don't have that fancy little badge that gets you in front of the lines anymore.
It wasn't worth a whole lot in Disneyland and Walt Disney World per se. I mean, it was, but not to the same extent it was in the foreign parts. But it was kind of nice to be back to being incognito. But at the same time, it was kind of nice having that front of the line access.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to mention that if any of your listeners have questions and are thinking about going on it and want more information, I'm more than happy to, have you give them my email address.
Sure, yeah.
Just make sure they put in the subject line, the around the world trip or something.
Yeah.
So that I know it's not spam.
Right. No,
I'm more than happy to make it easier for somebody if I can, or at least sway them one way or the other. Because I have some friends who, like the gal who was supposed to be my roommate, she was like, well, I'll wait until Jocey gets back to see if I can sign up for 2024. And when I got back and I was explaining to her, because I know what her limitations are, there's no way she'd be able to do the trip. But other people with certain other different limitations,
Sure, yeah.
there are ways around, or, and if they need to know, I can make them aware. Because I think it was a little more than a week before we were going to leave, National Geographic talked to the doctor, had him call me, not the doctor that was on the trip, but the one who assigns doctors, but he's also a doctor. He called me with them trying to talk me out of going, which I thought was rather rude. And they had him doing it in such a way that they wouldn't get sued for it. But they, my answer was, I did Egypt so many months ago. Don't even go there. I'm doing it. Well, what if we do this? I'm like, no, I'm going. If I go, I'm going the whole way.
Yeah.
And I did. And I didn't hold anybody back. There was one time where I had to deviate. Everybody else went and did something and I needed an out. And that was accommodated by the locals. No problem. Different people have different situations. And I'm more than happy to help somebody understand if it's something they can or might not be able to do. Or if it's something they don't know if they should do or could do or would like to do. So, like I said, I'm more than happy to be available if anybody wants.
Yeah. That's
Awesome.
very generous of you. Thank you.
No. That's what I was going to
Jocey,
take her for.
Once again, thank you so much for coming on and spending
you.
so much of your evening with us. And we never in a million years thought we'd talk to anybody who's been on this adventure. And I'm so glad that you were able to come and talk about it. We never would have had enough time to get this conversation from you and Marceline in the limited amount of time we had there, because that was also a crazy weekend.
Yes, it was.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. This was very sweet of you. I appreciate being able to share it. It's wonderful.
Looks like we're coming in for a landing, gang. But please stay listening until trivia comes to a stop. And then you can walk to the nearest exit. Thanks for listening to the 8th wonder of the world, DLWeekly.
Welcome back to Trivia Land, where we're going to learn all the answers to everything we never knew about clocks.
Yeah, I think we got one right.
I'm just telling
two.
I'm telling you, Vern, we're very tired because we just got back from half of a round the world trip with Jocey.
It's very true.
So we're very tired.
You're jet-lagged and you're daylight-saving-legged.
Oh, geez, yeah.
And it's dark outside, and I will try to make this as quick as possible so we can all go to bed then, all right? All right. Your first regular round question. Do you know the name of the clock in Small World? Teg thinks his name is Happy, which is smiley. It's nice. And Teresa said TikTok. Not the app, but the sound that he's making.
Also not the crocodile from Peter Pan.
Yes, not the croc. Yep. The correct answer that I was looking for, and incidentally, the style of clock that he is Glockenspiel.
His name is Glockenspiel?
He is a Glockenspiel clock named Glockenspiel.
Oh, that's good.
Well then.
Glockenspiel. Very good.
Your second regular round question. Installed in 1996, where can you see the chandelier clock? Tag thinks it's in the Golden Horseshoe. Teresa thinks it's in Riverbell Terrace. When you thought that maybe you were thinking too fancy of places, I said, or maybe not nearly fancy enough, because the correct place to look for the chandelier clock is hanging in Sleeping Beauty's castle.
Dang it.
Didn't you say the castle at one point?
Yeah, I did. I said, I don't think there's any chandeliers in the castle.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Disney Parks blog.
And this clock is perpetually stopped, and there are many myths as to what time it is stopped at, and direct from Disney Parks, they say there is no significance to the time that it's set to. So if anybody tells you it's set to the time that Walt passed or anything like that, they're pulling your leg.
It just looks like it's set to 4 p.m. to the picture that's in the Disney Parks blog.
They actually changed the time that it is set to.
Oh.
So any 2 times that you're in the parks, you might see it set to 2 different times, but it's just random times. That is direct from Disney Parks.
I do love that there is a comment on the Disney Parks blog that says, probably just where the hands land after custodial cleans the clock. If each cast member left the clock at their time, you could tell who cleaned it last. If Bob always sets to 8, you know he cleaned it if it still reads 8. That's funny.
Your third regular round question. In Toontown, there was a clock on City Hall that had gloved hands wielding wooden hammers to ring the clock tower bell with a Mickey on the clock face. What is on City Hall's tower now?
Vern,
What?
I missed a very important word when you first asked this question because I was thinking Disneyland City Hall. I missed Toontown City Hall. And I was like, is there a clock on... Anyway, I just wanted you to know before you gave the answer that is what I was thinking.
It's a good thing you hitched your wagon to mine, because
yes,
you were in the wrong area.
Well, that's why I was like, was there a clock? I think there's just a circular thing at the top. Okay.
So, yes, in Toontown City Hall,
Okay, yep.
there used to be the gloved hands with the wooden hammers and the clock tower bell. Now the clock tower bell is still there, and there are still 3 rockets sticking out of the clock tower bell, but they've removed the wooden hands, and they've changed it so that it's no longer just Mickey on the clock face. They took away the clock and replaced it with Teresa having the right answer,
Woo-woo.
Mickey and Minnie, holding hands, appearing as if they're skipping.
See, they're on their way to a perfect picnic. There they are, see them?
Yeah.
So I award both of you correct points for that one.
Woo!
Good job, Teresa.
And your fourth and final regular round question. In Shanghai Disney Store's entry plaza, there is a glockenspiel-type clock tower measuring 60 feet tall and featuring Mickey faces, visible gears and mechanisms, and a variety of popular Disney, Disney Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars characters as both statues and animated figures. What year was this clock tower unveiled? Tag, feeling ambitious and thinking that they unveiled this clock tower a year before they actually opened the park. And Teresa feeling that they opened the clock tower at the same time that they opened the park. The correct answer being 2016. Teresa being right at the same time they opened the park.
Wow. See, I told you.
Look at this thing. So I just pulled up pictures, of course, online, and this is
Oh, wow.
It's
crazy
beautiful.
cool. Look at these.
We need to go to Shanghai Disney.
Oh, look at that. There's a little R2. There's a Stormtrooper, C-3PO, Mickey. Oh, Iron Man's on the backside there. Snow White, Minnie. Cute. I think that might be Buzz Lightyear. The Hulk, Spider-Man. Oh my gosh, this is cool.
And your bonus question tonight. What is special about the clocks in the Haunted Mansion? Both of you knowing that they include 13 o'clock, and Tag picking up on the fact that they run backwards.
Oh, good job.
Boom.
So you both get your bonus point on that one.
Wow, we got something.
Well, listeners, how do you think they did? Did they have all the clock knowledge that you expected them to? How did you do listening at home? Do you know lots about clocks? If you've got some great trivia that you'd like to hear live on the air, feel free to send that in to us at trivia@dlweekly.net.
Well, we will be back next week with more Disneyland news and information.
Until then, go out and enjoy the parks.
And thank you to our editor, Sidel.
Please remain seated until the podcast comes to a complete stop and the doors have opened. Then collect your belongings, watch your head, and step carefully from the episode. On behalf of all of our crew, thanks for traveling with us. And we hope you have a happy and memorable visit here at DL Weekly.